Chapter 1200 Ascension. Let's start with my true avatars, Wang Wei muttered. He gathered his existence to condense countless. All everlasting Empyreans can have a total of 269 trillion true avatars, but Wang Wei did not create all of them. The true avatars will remain mortal as they experience reincarnation after reincarnation. Their purpose is to be backups or revival means for their main body. Based on the rules of heaven and earth, the higher the cultivation of a true avatar, the easier it is to recognize them. Empyreans are then forced to keep their avatars as mortals to prevent discovery. However, they will also select a few avatars to hide themselves and cultivate. These avatars will have a cultivation level of 999% so that if they die, the avatar can immediately become the main body and inherit all the main Bodhis powers. After creating most of the avatars, Wang Wei summoned his life-death Tao to bless them. However, he immediately frowned as he realized something. He summoned his status as the Mind 3 Realm Emperor for the blessing, and the result was the same. Rules after rules, he complained. He wanted some of his true avatars to reincarnate into the lower dimension to have an extra safety measure, just like his secret vaults. Unfortunately, the rules stated they could only be reincarnated into the upper dimension and the eternal Ascension world. Wang Wei waved his hand to send these things into reincarnation, and he was once again surprised. As soon as these avatars arrived, he sensed they had already reincarnated. The processing speed astonished him. It seems the rules still provided some advantage, he muttered. Although it was something small, it was better than nothing. His next step was refining his Proving Tao artifact. He summoned a ball of compressed strings glowing with a golden aura. The artifact was a part of him, meaning his Grand Tao source nourished it during his breakthrough. As such, this artifact is now classified as an Empyrean artifact embryo, meaning he only needs to fuse material of the same level to finish it. Currently, Wang Wei had two materials he could use: the sword creation lifeform from Old Man Nether and a prime gold chi that his clones found in the source chi space. He did not hesitate to add these things, completing the final transformation of his artifact. This thing is truly subpar, not even adding one fold to my battle realm, Wang Wei complained. However, he was limited by resources. He could only wait until he ascended to improve the artifact. Wang Wei finally stood up from his cushion, directly teleporting to his secret vault. If anyone saw this thing, they would think he was a narcissist. There were paintings of him on one side of the room, showing the different events in his life. The other side contained calligraphy of his name and all the titles had received. There were recordings of his memories, and at the center of the room were stacks of books about everything he had accomplished in his life. Wang Wei created another book to add more details. Although heaven and earth did not acknowledge his accomplishments of being the first everlasting and indestructible paragons in the lower dimension or the fact he was probably the youngest in history, they were all significant accomplishments, and he put them into his vault. Once he was done, Wang Wei teleported his vault into the core of the world tree. There was no better place to hide it, especially since it would have such a powerful guardian. Additionally, he instructed the tree to teleport the vault away in case a powerful enemy discovered it. Should I also add my ancestor's vault? Wang Wei hesitated. All emperors are paranoid about their vaults, even for family members or Tao companions. So, there is a chance that his actions might be controversial to his ancestors. Let's just do it and he'll apologize to them, Wang Wei said, and he spread his divine sense to find their vault. Nothing? He found every hidden vault in the lower dimension but not theirs. Two possibilities. They both experienced an event so terrifying that their vaults were destroyed, or they sent projections after becoming Paragon to hide them better. Wang Wei no longer focused on this and left after giving the world tree another baptism. His destination was the Sect. Everyone gathered as they knew this was the last official meeting of this generation's Sect master. I believe my clone has already refined the immortal mansions and unique chi? Wang Wei asked directly. Yes, Origin One nodded with a smile. The amount of reserve mansion and energy Wang Wei created for them was 5 times greater than all the Sect's previous emperors, and if it were not for the balance mechanism, it would have been more. Good. Now it's time for the Tao Source seed. Wang Wei began to refine the seeds at an alarming rate. Moreover, those seeds contained more potential than others since they were refined from an Empyrean. The result was twice as much as all the former emperors combined. Of course, like the immortal mansions, most of these seeds will be sealed and distributed over a long period. The majority will not see the day of light until the Sect encounters a catastrophe. This is for you, Wang Wei said as he handed Dong Lifen's master a unique seed. It contains a special river of fate that will boost your power to the peak of the Emperor realm when needed and a 3-zhang Grand Mist wheel to help you create life and accelerate your cultivation. Empyrean's wheel is between 6 to 12 zhang, but Dao rulers can have 3 to 5 zhang. The wheel is not just for you, Wang Wei continued. You'll have to share it with the others. Come with a schedule on how to use it. Wang Wei sighed. I would love to leave more, but the rules are not in my favor. Thank you, Sect Master, Wuxia replied. Wang Wei then watched her fuse with the seed. Welcome, Fate One, said everyone present. Thank you, everyone, it'll be in your care from now on. Never in her life would Wuxia have expected to reach such a level in her cultivation, and she owed everything to the Sect Master and her disciple. What's next? Wang Wei asked. The artifact and arrays, replied Miscellaneous One. Let's start with the artifact. Someone brought an artifact similar to his, a ball of compressed strings. The workmanship is brilliant, Wang Wei complimented. Whoever refined that thing pushed the limit of the materials. Thank you, Sect Master. This is one of my best works, Miscellaneous One said with a smile. Wang Wei nodded before summoning the 4-symbol mirror. With a thought, the mirror turned into particles that fused with the string ball artifact. Finally, he summoned his Proving Dao artifact and created a projection, which fractured under his control. Many people sighed after seeing this, knowing a true Empyrean artifact couldn't remain in the lower dimension. Once the projection fused with the Sect's artifact, it released a terrifying aura. The Sect now owned a cracked Empyrean artifact as their 10th artifact, and it was one of the best of its kind. His next task was to add the Grand Dao Source Nourishment to the Sect's 10th Emperor Array, which combined a Fate Array and the Heaven Deceiving Array. He tried to deceive Heaven into allowing him to create a Tier 11 formation, but that was not allowed. So he followed the same principle as the artifact. His third task was to leave a true will artifact for the Sect. With his current strength, the array from the Human Emperor's trial, and other means, this artifact will take a very long time to dissipate. Sadly, it still could not be permanent. However, Wang Wei did leave an insurgent technique called World Will that allowed Dao ancestors to create a copy of a Dao Will/True Will from their inner world. The last thing Wang Wei did was update his Fate Transcending Sutra. True Heavenly Dao was not a douche this time around and allowed him to leave the entire sutra, meaning the Sect now had an Empyrean sutra at their foundation. Once Wang Wei finished everything, he had a small goodbye dinner with all the Sect's leaders and upper echelons. Near the end of the party, he secretly drank with Yan Qin and Ancestor Wu Qing. A toast to the two of you. You've protected me throughout my cultivation journey and even died for my safety. I would not be here without the two of you. You honor us too much, Yan Qin replied with a sigh. He always felt he did not do much as a Dao protector, so he only accepted being a normal Dao ancestor instead of the Sect wasting resources on him to become a first-class or even eternal insurgent. No need to go easy on this kid. As he said, I died for him and he'll mooch off this fact for the rest of my life, replied Wang Wuqing. You know I'm now technically older than you. The time inside formation doesn't count, Wang Wuqing replied shamelessly. As shameless as always, Wang Wei said with a smile, and the two drank until late at night. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1201 Ascension 2. The next day Wang Wei decided to visit a few acquaintances. Most of his friends/acquaintances had already ascended, but there were a few he could still say goodbye. He first checked on Wu Ming, who had sealed himself. This man did not ascend but sealed himself to be a guide and protector of the Wu clan and the Origin Rune Palace. He plans to ascend only after the clan cultivates their first heavenly emperor. Wu Ming had the talent and destiny to be like Yan Liling and Tong Ruobing. Sadly, his obsession with his family ruined him, Wang Wei thought. Maybe ruin was not the right word, but this man delayed his blessings and accomplishments, and based on how the future goes, he indeed might be ruined. Wang Wei checked on Dong Lifan, who was also sealed. She had already prepared for the invasion of the Heaven Will world. However, she needed the right time for the invasion, and according to divination the best time would be a few generations later. As such, she sealed herself to pass the time and wait for her husband's reincarnation. Wang Wei checked on the others like Kai Song, and as expected they were already sealed as well. So, he teleported to the only acquaintance waiting for him, Tai Gang. You're finally here, Tai Gang said. Is there a reason you've waited for so long? I think one of my clones could have helped you reincarnate, Wang Wei said as he sat opposite him and calmly received the wine he served. I figure the more powerful you become, the easier it would be for me to reincarnate without any problems and maybe accelerate the process. Do you have something in mind? It has to be the Myriad Emperor world, a top supreme land so that I don't completely start from scratch, and it would be best to be in the next 50 generations. Wang Wei nodded before looking in the distance. His eyes rotated between black and white as he activated his Samsara Dao. I have a spot for you in the 12th generation. So close? Tai Gang asked. Yes. The competition is intense, but no one from the sect will compete, and you want to encounter people like Suya and Di Jiaying. That sounds perfect, Tai Gang nodded, unable to contain his excitement. The Iron Fist dynasty was about to see the light of day again. This time, it was more brilliant than anyone could have ever imagined. Then it's decided, Wang Wei agreed before they touched wine bowls. Thank you for your years of servitude. He remembered how he chose to spare and recruit Tai Gang on a whim, and over the years the latter had proven to be a worthy investment. Thank you for investing in me, for never treating me differently because of my background, and for being magnanimous about my reincarnation, Tai Gang toasted. His life has been exciting and rewarding, and he owed all of it to his boss. I hope the next time we meet we can work together again as partners, Wang Wei declared, and these words pleased Tai Gang. Once they finished drinking, Wang Wei helped him with his reincarnation. Firstly, Tai Gang had to strip away his inner world and lose his immortality. Afterward, Wang Wei guided his soul to reincarnation, ensuring he kept his memories, his innate talent, an artifact for protection, and Qin Tong's sermon that he engraved on his soul. Lastly, he protected the secret dimensions that Tai Gang left that contained the resources he needed to rise. Wang Wei even added a little bit to them. He did not give Tai Gang a title as he did for Wang Ju because the latter would have too much karmic connection with him if he did so. However, he did bless him with some non-karmic binding luck to ensure his success in the next life. Once that was done, Wang Wei's next destination was the Heavenly Tree Village. Wang Wei did not show up but remained invisible as he observed. This village was now a top Dao lineages and probably the strongest of its kind due to the World Tree Seed he granted them. Their minimalist lifestyle, in which cultivators lived and blended to refine the Dao heart, became the core of their lineage, resulting in mortal crafts and arts flourishing in that village. After observing for a while, he teleported to a secret dimension with an ancestral shrine for him. After so long, the village still considered him one of its founders and held worshipping ceremonies occasionally. He smiled as he looked at his handsome picture on the shrine. He first lit incense before leaving a hidden top-tier emperor array for the village. No one would know of it and it would only activate in an emergency. With the protection of the Dao opening sect, no one would dare mess with the village after knowing its origin. However, he wanted to give them additional protection in case something went wrong. Wang Wei teleported away, and not long after, the disciples watching the shrine immediately noticed the incense and warned the village elders. They figured out what had happened, so they held another celebration for the founding ancestor. Wang Wei's next destination before returning home was to check on the Hell Court and the Heaven-devouring Emperor. After ensuring no problems, he teleported home where his mother, father, Li Jun and Yen Liling were waiting. I knew this day would come, but I can't help but be saddened once it arrived, Yu Yen said, embracing her son. This is only a short separation. Time will fly by before you even notice. For us maybe, Yu Yen sobbed. The family started their last dinner together. This is for you, Wang Wei said as he handed his mother a space ring. What's this? My Grand Dao source tree. You can use it for now and just hand it over to the sect before you ascend. Don't you need it? It's useless to me, and it would be better to get another one in the upper dimension than spend so much time elevating this one to tier 11. And that's for you. Wang Tian looked at the small sphere that contained a golden man that resembled him as if it was a perfect copy. Is that the limit-breaking deity? Yes. I've condensed it from all the stories and myths across all world communities. It's technically done, but I recommend you feed it more incense before using it. I will. Finally, this is yours, Wang Wei stated as he handed Li Jun a black crown. From now on, you're the Earth Emperor of the lower dimension. Unfortunately, I can't give you the human or heavenly emperor position. That's more than enough. Wang Wei smiled as he saw how Yen Liling was silently pouting in the corner while ruthlessly biting into her food. You can also use the tree, said Yu Yen, and she nodded. Wang Wei chuckled. I've talked to the World Tree. It will give you some leaves and other parts for pill materials. She will also help you in your role as guardian, but only in an emergency. Really? Her eyes immediately lit up. The World Tree was tier 11, meaning an Empyrean rank material. Yes, and remember, the tree is the last line of protection I've left for all of you. I doubt anything will happen in the lower dimension, but in case of a catastrophe or unknown threat, it will fight to its final breath to protect or send you away. However, the tree technically does not belong to any faction, so it can only be used for emergencies. We understand. The family chose to change the subject while they continued their small banquet. I can't believe how far we've come, Yu Yen commented. Indeed. After Heavenly Tao blocked the path of Supreme, our generation despaired. Who knew we would raise the greatest emperor in the lower dimensions history and experience the most brilliant era in the next generation? If only Mother and Father were here to experience everything, Yu Yen sighed. Have they reincarnated yet? Not yet, but their destination has been set, Wang Wei replied. It's somewhere in the upper dimension. I can't tell for sure until I ascend. It's good that they have a destination, she nodded. What about my father? Wang Tian asked. Still nothing, but he should be fine, Wang Wei reassured him. The dinner soon ended, and Li Jun followed Wang Wei to see his concubine Su Ai. Wang Wei took this opportunity to nourish his niece/nephew with his Grand Dao source and even added a blood nourishment for the child to ensure it turned into an absolute monster. Once that was done, he spent the next 500 years with his family, traveling to different places worldwide. However, their tourist tour soon turned into a food tour as Wang Wei hoped he could find food on par or close to his wife for his body cultivation since he had used all the reserves. Sadly, he only discovered one barely adequate dish. Finally, Wang Wei entered a short 10-year retreat before his ascension. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1202 Ascension Finale. Wang Wei, who was completely naked, opened his eyes from his chamber. His body had tattoos from his face to his toes. With a thought, the tattoos became alive and rushed into his head or sea of consciousness. All preparations are done, he muttered before dressing and standing up. He gazed at his cultivation room, knowing this would be the last time. Should I leave this room for the sect? As a place head used to cultivate since he proved the Tao, this place was precious due to his aura and Tao rhyme. Forget it. I already left them enough. He had already drastically increased the sect's foundation, including leaving a blood pool from his blood essence to nourish future body cultivators. They did not need any more. However, I should also leave a rule to prevent these future heavenly emperors from taking away the room. Additionally, this room will become even more valuable as more emperors use it. Once he's gone, he won't be able to control some of these people's greed. Wang Wei pointed at the room to leave his power. He also condensed a talisman that would allow the Tao opening sect to secretly use this room when no one is occupying the court. Let's also leave it in a written record, Wang Wei muttered. He already created the test to determine whether someone can inherit his position, and his trial is even more challenging than true heavenly Taos. He had set specific precedents for his successors, and now he was adding the rules of leaving the room untouched. Wang Wei left his room and started walking through the court. A feeling of nostalgia hit quite hard all of a sudden. As he walked to the residence of the immortals and former emperors, he could not lament one of his few failures during his reign. Few people chose to live in the court despite his best efforts. After Su Shi moved in, the situation improved, but it never reached the level Wang Wei wished for. It seemed those people were determined not to sleep next to a tiger. Maybe Mom and Dad will have a higher success rate, he thought before gazing at old man Tianji in one of the court's rooms. He was now in a state of semi-consciousness that there were not as many emperors or gods to share the burden of world source. He also needed to keep himself from being eroded by heavenly Tao. With him as a sample, I can extrapolate much information about Supreme Unity's current state, Wang Wei thought before walking to the garden. This place was his favorite, and he took particular care of it by gathering the most beautiful flowers in the endless void and perfectly arranging them. Still as soothing as I remember, he commented. Wang Wei spent a few hours in the garden, knowing it would be his last. Finally, he teleported him to say goodbye. I'm worried about him, Wang Wei heard his mother saying. There is no need. Our son is someone blessed and loved by fate. Although he will suffer a little, he will be fine eventually. That's not my main concern. I fear he'll lose himself and his humanity without us tethering him. That is indeed concerning. However, he'll have our daughter-in-law and the ancestors to keep him grounded. You're probably right, but I can't help but overthink. Wang Wei smiled and waited a while before making his presence known. He hugged his family after entering, and his mother immediately started tearing up. I promised myself I wouldn't cry, but look at me. Like I said, the blink of an eye, Wang Wei stated. I know. After hugging for a while, they separated. However, Wang Wei detected a few people outside. Come in. Origin 1, Sword 1, and a few others entered the room. Wang Wuqing said you might leave without saying goodbye, so we came here as soon as we sensed your presence. Wang Wei sighed. Wang Wuqing was correct since he did not like partings. How can you leave without seeing us? This is probably the last time we'll ever see each other, Sword 1 complained. Because it will not be, Wang Wei answered. They'll come see you again with a projection after becoming a paragon. And if one day I can reach that level and have some freedom, I won't mind taking all of you with me to the upper dimension. Thank you, Sect Master. We will patiently wait for that day, Origin 1 stated before cupping his hands to salute. Everyone followed him and Wang Wei nodded to receive it. Everyone swiftly left after saying a few words. It's time, Wang Wei said to his parents. Take care, honey. Son, I have no words or advice because I know whatever you do, you'll make me and our family proud. Wang Wei gave them one last hug before walking out of the mansion. He had to plan for a flashy ascension and planned for a normal and underwhelming one. However, some people had other plans. The sky suddenly changed, becoming purple. A golden chariot drawn by two Qilin rushed from the sky with a rainbow underneath its feet as a path. It landed before Wang Wei, who sighed internally. I guess I should be honored that true heavenly Tao is going to such lengths for my ascension. He then activated the heaven-deceiving array, which he engraved on his body to its full power before entering the chariot. The Qilin led him into the sky, and the vision spread to every corner of the lower dimension. Golden lotus bloom above every world, followed by projections of sages, wise men, immortals, and even emperors bowing to the sky. Heavenly or Tao music echoed between heaven and earth, soothing the mind of all sentient beings. Everyone received the news of Wang Wei's ascension. So they all bowed and uttered, "Safe journey to the Supreme Emperor." These words echoed across space-time, all worlds and dimensions connected to the endless void. Although many people were secretly happy that that monster had finally left, no one allowed their personal feelings to affect this moment. Everyone showed their respect, no matter how they might have felt. Our clan is truly blessed to give birth to such a being, Origin 1 muttered as he watched the chariot disappear. Not far from him, in a small but elegant pavilion, an elderly man opened a book and started writing. Heavenly Emperor Era, year 567,908, the Supreme Emperor ascended with a golden chariot that descended from heaven, bringing an end to possibly the greatest generation of this world and the lower dimensions history. A brief history of a few significant emperors of the Heavenly Emperor Era. In the second generation, the Supreme Emperor's father, Wang Tian, proved the Tao with absolute force and became the Absolute Cut Emperor. He ruled over the court with his wife, the Eternal Darkness Empress. Many people believed their reigns would be uneventful and unmemorable, that they would ride on their son's success. However, everything changed when the Sword Tao River and the Darkness World were created. The Absolute Cut Emperor gathered the sword intent, sword wills, and sword skills of all sword cultivators since the dawn of time and placed them in one place, the Sword Tao River. His actions boosted the strength and popularity of Sword Tao to an even higher peak while also making the ultimate sword path the orthodox way by replacing the extreme sword path. Meanwhile, everyone else benefited from the willpower and Tao heart tempering from the darkness world. The exciting thing about this creation was that it could absorb the darkness from somebody's mind and body, making them a better person, which would help them in their cultivation. These creations made the reign of these two widely successful, and future emperors followed in their footsteps. The third generation was a fierce competition between Suya and Di Jiaying, and Suya was the final winner, becoming the sole Desire Empress. Her legacy was controversial. She created the 6 Desire 7 Emotions Pillars, another tool to help cultivate the Tao heart by regulating emotions. This invention could be said to be even better than Shiner at dealing with the affairs of the heart. However, it did not only help regulate emotions but also lost in them. So, many lives, including emperors, lost themselves due to the lust pillar, which allowed them to experience the wildest sexual fantasies imaginable. The fourth emperor was Di Jiaying. She washed her karma from the rewards in the Heaven Chosen's list and fought in the next generation. Her reign was terrible by all historical accounts. She was a tyrant, so she did not share resources and took almost everything herself. Besides a few lineages that she respected or feared due to their predecessors, she screwed everybody. Even in her banquet, she forced people to attend and charged a fee. The exciting thing is that the D clan never stops supporting her despite how many enemies she has made. There were many revolts in her reign, but she suppressed all of them. Many people asked the Tao opening sect to sanction or something, but since she did not touch their benefit, the sect remained neutral. The fifth generation only had a note in history because that person was the first non-true eternal emperor, and that reign was peaceful and uneventful. The sixth generation crowned the Heavenly Tree Emperor from the Heavenly Tree Village. His legacy was 3,800 world trees, all fused with a world community to ensure the spatial integrity of these worlds and the entire lower dimension. The seventh generation emperor originated from the Wu clan or the Origin Rune Palace. He was the first emperor and eternal of the totem path. His legacy was pushing totem marking as a new profession. The 10th generation emperor was the Nightmare Empress, Dong Lifan. Before proving the Tao, she single-handedly conquered a heaven will, socking the world. Although it was a newly ascended heaven will world, it was still a shock. Her legacy was the creation of two new species, the Dream and Nightmare race, with heavenly Tao's blessing. Additionally, she created the Nightmare world, which absorbed the evil and negativity of the lower dimension before fusing them with her own dream world. Her actions, inspired by the effect of the darkness world, essentially purified the lower dimension from evil, negativity, and yin energy. During her reign, people were the happiest and the most morally upright, and cultivation was truly enjoyable due to a clear mind. The 11th generation made history because they were the first emperors to fail the Supreme Emperor's trial and could not sit on that throne despite being a fairly powerful pseudo-eternal. The 12th generation saw the birth of the first emperor and eternal, not from a top lineage. The Iron First Emperor, whose identity was eventually revealed as one of the Supreme Emperor's generals, Tai Gang, proved the Tao and created the Iron Fist dynasty. His legacy was the vibration world, a dimension not ruled by laws but by countless strings in which each vibration corresponds to a Tao or some aspect of reality. The Iron Fist Emperor asked the world to help create some of these strings. Once it was created, some people felt cheated since he left the vibration world as a foundation for his dynasty. However, these voices were a minority since the Iron Fist Emperor did not hide the fact that this was a private creation he asked for help with. The Heavenly Emperor era was long and gave birth to countless brilliant talents, including the Ultimate Puppet Empress, the Spear Domination Emperor, the Time-Skipping Emperor, and the resurgence of the Crimson Blood Emperor and the Pill Sage Empress. And those were merely the brilliant ones from the Myriad Emperor world, which gave birth to the most unique emperors. However, a few other worlds also gave birth to emperors with great legacies. End of volume. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1203 The Destined One's arrival. Emperor Kong, dressed in scholarly clothes, was preaching to three people: Lin Fan, Su Shi, and his son Bai Hai. It was a privilege for these three to receive sermons from such a cultivator, except Su Shi, who had the fortune to receive one from a top-of-the-line paragon. Then Emperor Kong suddenly stopped and looked in the distance with a frown. "Father, is something wrong?" "He's here." "Who?" "The Destined One, the one who will end this terrible era." "You're talking about Wang Wei?" Lin Fan asked. "Most likely," Emperor Kong nodded. All information he's learned about Wang Wei showed that this particular destiny went to him, but he could not confirm this fact 100% until he met the latter. "How do you know he's here?" Bai Hai asked. "I noticed a slight shift to the world's destiny, a sign that fate has started its machination." "Then what should we do?" Bai Hai asked. "Tell me what you think first." "We can prepare to contact him secretly." "Found out what he's planning and how to respond," Bai Hai suggested, and Emperor Kong nodded. Lin Fan: "Our first priority should be the upcoming chaos. Many other factions should have noticed his arrival, and their response would have been of three possibilities: remain neutral, ally with him, or kill him, and the people wishing to kill him are not just the enemy but people with ambition who want to take the destiny from him. However, regardless of how these factions react, the current chaos and turmoil will drastically intensify, so we need to prepare to deal with that first." Emperor Kong nodded, not adding any comment. "Su Shi?" "While they both make excellent points, they fail to see the crux of the problem. Our main priority is how to prevent Wang Wei from swallowing our foundation." Lin Fan was listening, but Bai Hai frowned. "Aren't you exaggerating? This is not the lower dimension. The situation here is complex, and he cannot rely on his sect since they are sealed and are under constant watch. Tell me what's on your mind, and no need to mince your words," Emperor Kong encouraged. "Yes, Academy Master," Su Shi nodded. "Since Wang Wei ascended, It can only mean one thing: he succeeded in becoming an Empyrean in the lower dimension. Emperor Kong squinted. Su Shi had already told him this news, and he initially thought such a thing was impossible. However, after hearing all the advantages Wang Wei had and all the merit Su Shi arrived with, he had to believe it. He achieved the taboo battle realm in the lower dimension, meaning as an Empyrean he's most likely already tenfold. Even if he's not, his strength is at least between 8 to 9-fold, meaning his combat power is already at the top of the current political climate, Su Shi continued. From what I know about his character and behavior, he will have 3 main goals during his time here. The first is to increase his strength, so he should plan on achieving tenfold or even the taboo battle realm. The second will be on how to fulfill his destiny as smoothly as possible, and thirdly how to benefit his faction in the process. Our main concern is the third goal. Su Shi paused, thinking how to word her thoughts. Wang Wei is a very charismatic individual, and it's to a horrifying level. In the lower dimension he had to worry about the balance mechanism, so he could not expand the Dao opening sect without restraint. He does not have this limit here. He will create his power and make allies to fulfill his destiny. However, with his personality he will swallow these allies and turn them into his own foundation. If we decide to work with him, our priority is retaining our sovereignty and not being swallowed, and believe me when I say this task will be harder than you expect. The room was quiet, leaving Emperor Kong to his thoughts. He took Su Shi's words seriously for 2 reasons. Firstly, she was friends with Wang Wei and knew him the best out of everyone present. Secondly, he understood how scary a Dao overlord was during a time of chaos and strife. Such periods of instability are the perfect ground for them to grow and wreak havoc. It seems like we must make early preparations, Emperor Kong uttered. Origin Seal Continent. Wu Hong opened her eyes to look in the distance, lost in thought. Are you happy that your husband is here? Roared a distant voice. She shook her head and sealed the room before continuing her retreat. Heavenly Beauty Palace was an enormous palace floating on the clouds. A pair of phoenix eyes suddenly opened, and walked out of the room to gaze over the balcony. So, you're finally here? I wonder what kind of person you are? Maybe we'll meet at my celebration, she muttered before sending news that her celebration would be in advance. The exact date is 500,000 years from today. Dao opening sect. A young disciple was dozing off in a large dimension full of statues when he suddenly felt something. He woke up to gaze at the podium before him. The podium was divided into 4 layers. The lowest layer contained the most statues and the top contained only 4. The disciple looked at the second layer as a new golden statue rapidly formed. Gold in the second layer? An everlasting Empyrean? Who in the sect made a breakthrough? As he was about to report this change, the disciple felt dizzy and passed out. An elderly man appeared in this dimension and looked at the statue. He's finally here, he muttered before pointing at the statue and making it disappear. He then gazed at the disciple and, with one thought, erased his memory. Wang Wei's arrival was felt by the entire world, causing a small commotion that would soon snowball into an avalanche. Meanwhile, he had just arrived at an unknown location and finished witnessing his chariot disappearing. No attack, so that's good news, Wang Wei muttered as he looked around him. He was on high alert during the entire ordeal. He looked at the sky and his lips twitched. The world's destiny has shifted, meaning everyone with decent cultivation knows him here. Well, no, the Destined One is here. He looked around and scanned his surroundings. Am I on a planet? No, this entire area is a starry sky universe. Alright, let's adapt to this place first. He took one step to teleport to a sun a few trillion light years away and created a cultivation cave. This place's space is so strong. More importantly, it felt alive as it was constantly fighting against my teleportation, Wang Wei commented. More importantly, the effect of my time acceleration array has drastically decreased compared to the lower dimension. He sighed before entering a deep state of cultivation and immediately felt a difference. The energy called Dao Qi in the environment is an excellent boost for comprehension. Does it exist to balance the lower effect of time acceleration? Honestly, I would rather have my formation. The adapting process was extremely short, so short that Wang Wei did not need a formation. He spent 3 months adapting and 3 minutes passed outside. The good news is my cultivation is now 78%. This should be the benefit of first-time ascendees. It's a shame my body is too powerful and there were no effects, not that I could use it if there were. Wang Wei was now in the 3rd heaven of the adult fiend god realm, and once he reached the 4th he needed to pass this realm's tribulation. Right now he was not prepared for that. Wang Wei stood up and was about to leave when he stopped himself and frowned. A terrifying divine sense was scanning the area. No, not the area, the entire world, Wang Wei thought as he observed. The divine sense passed through him as if he had never existed, and Wang Wei was not surprised. He was a fateless, meaning it was extremely hard to deduce or divine any information about him. Additionally, he had the protection of the heaven-deceiving array, the effect of his spirit flower ability, and his tenfold battle realm indicated he was very close to the Paragon Realm in power, the protection of his golden body of merit, and the protection of fate or destiny. This divine sense is not someone who's in the lower tier of the Paragon Realm, so it's most likely the world of the Time Eater, Wang Wei analyzed. Did he come back, only use his divine sense from the outside, or was this some kind of mechanism he already left in place? Wang Wei did not have an answer, but he did know that there was not much time for him. The good news is neither Betrayal nor Supreme Unity suddenly appeared out of nowhere and obliterated me, he thought. However, what is this odd feeling? Wang Wei closed his eyes as he felt a deep connection somewhere far away. At first he thought it was his connection to his wife, but upon focusing he realized the connection seemed out of reach. Is that my connection to Earth? He was right as he now sensed a deep connection to somewhere in primordial chaos, which could only be the prehistoric world. It seems I was too weak before, the isolation of the lower dimension should have also helped. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1204. Let's start. Wang Wei had a moment of nostalgia as he thought of his life on Earth. He had a few regrets from there, so he would love the chance to make it up. However, his current connection had no real purpose or ability. Maybe I can send a projection through the connection after becoming a paragon. Anyway, I might need answers from Hongjun, and it's not a good idea to show up with my real body. He composed himself before planning his next move. However, something bothered him, Supreme Unity's lack of action. He controlled himself to focus on the task at hand. Firstly, he needed basic information on where he was, so he teleported to a planet with life. Wang Wei was heading to a nearby city and noticed people staring at him. He thought people had recognized it for a moment despite his changed appearance before realizing it was because humans were scarce in this part of the world. So he changed his aura to that of a demon. This is the blood dragon's territory? Wang Wei thought as he ate. The food was delicious, but he could tell this place relied on good ingredients instead of cooking techniques or unique spice combinations. Should I start with him? He pondered briefly before giving up. He needed more information and to establish himself before making any moves. Bang! What the fuck did you say? Roared a man dressed in all black, a scar on his right eye, and releasing his aura of an emperor with a cultivation of 56%. His fierce gaze locked on a handsome young man at another table. I'm not talking to you, the young man said calmly. You dare call us dirty blood but don't have the balls to admit it. As soon as he uttered that word, many eyes focused on the young man, making him frown. Like I said, I'm having a private conversation that does not involve you. I guess I should expect nothing less from an innate demon. You people are truly the greatest failure of heaven and earth. What did you say? The young man uttered with gritted teeth, releasing his aura as a 5-star pre-march and cultivation on par with his opponent. You heard me, replied the scared man before turning into a tiger with flame on its back. The young man turned into a green serpent with purple spikes running down its back. They opened their mouth to fire something. Enough, said a cold voice before a phantom of a beautiful world manifested in the room, suppressing these two. These two finally remembered this restaurant belonged to a powerful Dao ruler. If you want to fight, go somewhere else, said the cold voice. The two combatants' facial expressions turned grave, so they swiftly changed into their human forms. They stared at each other but did not leave to fight. They returned to their table and continued eating. However, everyone could feel the tension in the air. The tension between the races under the blood dragon is so high? I guess that makes sense. In the past, the demon and innate demon gods were enemies, but now they were forced to serve under one person. I could use this mistrust and hatred. The 5-feathered phoenix might also be interested in ruling over creatures with potent bloodlines, which can be another angle to create inner conflict between them. He finished his noodles before slowly walking out of the restaurant. He sensed a gaze, and after investigating, he discovered that only the shop owner was intrigued by why he was so calm during the altercation. The latter did not pursue further, so Wang Wei ignored him. He walked around the city, observing countless more fights between different races. He then teleported to a planet with a large human population, focusing on observing the mortals. The abundant energy in the environment means crops are plentiful, and diseases are rare. The average lifespan is more than 1,000 years, Wang Wei thought. The only advantage of a mortal civilization would be access to knowledge and a bit of power, but it's nothing in the grand scheme. The enlightening temple should be worth recreating. However, in the current political climax, it might be a catastrophe for mortals to have any form of power. Wang Wei knew he no longer had absolute power, meaning he could not force his will on all the cultivators of the world. Even after becoming a primal paragon, he won't have such power. As such, it's impossible to spread the enlightening temple throughout the world, and even if he did, many mortals would suffer as revenge from cultivators for daring to try to balance them. If we were in a peaceful world, I could probably spread them throughout the sect and its allies' territory, but that's it. Wang Wei grunted before teleporting away. He will need another method of gathering merit to replicate some of his success from the lower dimension. After checking a few things, he found the fortunate encounter with Lu De before heading to the one the sect left for him. Wang Wei used his space Dao to navigate the complex spatial structure of the eternal Ascension world. He left his current area and bypassed countless more places until he arrived at the destination he deduced. Wang Wei had a strange look as he observed where he was. This area was shaped like a cube world, each face being a comically large continent. His destination was Continent 5, and he teleported above a small hut next to a decent-sized farm field. An elderly man was plowing vigorously, not showing any signs of his age. "This is it, your only remaining descendant." Lu Da's obsession manifested, and he looked at the elderly man with great sadness. He guessed his family was long dead, but seeing this person was the confirmation he hoped he never would receive. "You're lucky you have any descendant at all," Wang Wei stated very callously. "What do you want me to do? I can still give him the resources to start his cultivation journey." "That's not necessary," Lu Da stated. "As you said, I'm lucky someone survived after so long. There is no need to disturb his life." "All right. Do you at least want me to bless him with a fate of love so he can continue your lineage?" Lu Da hesitated briefly before nodding. "Please do so." He pointed his finger to change the elderly man's fate line, ensuring he regained his vigor and found a young wife. "Thank you," Lu Da bowed before rapidly dissipating. Wang Wei took the key and activated it. A portal swallowed him, and he found himself in a special dimension, staring at a grand black and gold palace. Someone already been there? After scanning the area, he discovered all the rooms except one was empty. A group of array masters were trying to open the last one. Wang Wei sighed as he should have expected this given how long ago this thing would have been created. With the key, he bypassed the formation and directly entered the last room. Wang Wei saw an entire world full of a glowing blue stone the size of a palm and a formation hanging above the sky. "Are those Dao sources? And they are all second rank?" Wang Wei muttered as he scanned this vast world. He looked at the formation. This Dao Qi conversion array must have been working non-stop for trillions of yuan epochs. Wang Wei smiled as he was now a very wealthy Empyrean. After so long, even if one Dao source took a lot of time to condense, there was still a world worth of it. With this wealth, Wang Wei can use it to cultivate or buy resources for himself or his faction. This is a good start. He waved his hand to put everything away before teleporting. His next destination was the Sect's secret realm. He had to rely on his luck to find the hidden dimension, which only delayed things by a small margin. "I feel I will like that they left for me," he muttered as he looked around. He was in a small room with a door before him. Before opening the door, he checked his surroundings for threats, and his eyes almost turned into money. This room was the same as the one he came from, full of Dao sources. The quantity was only 10% of the previous hall, which itself is a vast quantity, but this one was even more valuable because it contained purple stones, which are third-rank Dao sources that paragons used for their cultivation. "It's good to come from generational wealth," Wang Wei muttered with a grin. Without worrying too much about resources, he will be free to do as he pleases and not waste time. "If this is just the first room, I can't wait to see what the other rooms contain." He walked to the second room with a smile on his face. The room was relatively empty, with only a seal and an information talisman. He checked and it was a brief message. "With this Heaven seal you can control the Mask Clan. They are a secret information agency of the sect with some fame. They are now yours to control and mold as you see fit." "I guess I don't have to worry about the manpower for my new Fate Shadow Guards," Wang Wei thought. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1205 The Sect's Investment. Wang Wei walked into the next room, and he immediately noticed the three separate piles. He walked to the nearest one and saw countless artifacts and talismans, the weakest being immortal tears. Thousands of Emperor artifacts and hundreds of Empyrean artifacts, Wang Wei counted. And that's not counting the unrefined material. Wang Wei smiled as he now no longer had to worry about the material for his Proving Dao artifact. His gaze shifted to two things at the center of the pile. It was hard to ignore them, given how they were the only thing levitating or releasing any lights. He immediately recognized one of these items as an information talisman, and the other resembled a piece of thick gray glass the size of his palm. The power of fate? He thought as he sensed the glass aura. He did not hesitate to receive the information in the talisman, which was more extensive than he expected. Luckily, such information was only a small burden to his soul, and only because he absorbed everything at once. An encyclopedia of all the eternal Ascension world's materials, ores, and spiritual herbs? It even includes unique materials in the source chi space and primordial chaos. Wang Wei nodded as this talisman once again saved him a lot of time. He also knew what the primary material floating before him was. Such a large piece of fate glass. The sect is indeed rich, he commented. Fate glass is a rare material created from condensing another rare material? Primal fate sand. With only this thing I can elevate my artifact to the ultimate realm, meaning a boost of twofold. Although Wang Wei did not need the artifact to achieve a tenfold battle realm, it would still be helpful, especially in the upper dimension, where powerful weapons or artifacts are even more valuable than before. Without heavenly Daos limitation, a top emperor can survive or fight an Empyrean with a tier 11 artifact. Of course, the backlash is also no joke. Wang Wei has already planned to find a way for his Proving Dao artifact to be on par with Paragon so that it won't be a problem for him after achieving Taboo Realm again. He walked to the second pile, which contained pills of different varieties and levels. He put them away with a smile before walking to the last pile, a spiritual garden with raw herbs. Wang Wei realized the garden itself was a supreme innate treasure used to accelerate the cultivation of all kinds of herbs, including Emperor and Empyrean tier. Wang Wei walked to the third room, which was a vast library with countless cultivation techniques. 34 items floated in the middle of the room, one of which was a note that read, "These bastards have complete control over the Myriad Temple record, so we left these cultivation systems for you in case you need them. We also chose the 33 best and most unique scriptures from our sect for you." Wang Wei had heard of the Myriad Temple record, a place that housed all the cultivation systems of the Eternal Ascension world. Its fundamental purpose was the same thing Wang Wei did in the lower world with the Dream World, which allowed people to find the most suited cultivation systems for them by having access to other world communities. Wang Wei checked out these 33 scriptures and was surprised to find the ones from all 9 origin emperors from the lower dimension. He randomly took the Rainbow Emperor's scripture and flipped through it. It's different. No, it should be the new improvised version after she became a paragon, Wang Wei commented. Although this scripture only contained the Empyrean part, it was valuable to him. Wang Wei then immediately checked the ancient desolate body refining scripture. And as expected, it indeed was the upgraded version. Using a physical manifestation of the entire world to temper and strengthen the body? I didn't expect him to go this route. However, it seems to be a method to reduce resources by exchanging hard work and pain, meaning it's also good at tempering willpower. I could turn this technique into a cultivation bloodline technique. Wang Wei wanted to continue using bloodline for his body cultivation because, with the right bloodline, he only needed enough resources and time for him to grow. The new desolate body refining will further accelerate the process. He checked all the other primary scriptures. As the note stated, they were all unique and worth learning from. So, he put everything away before walking to the next room. Whoever designed this place is a little dramatic. Couldn't they just place everything in one room? Wang Wei complained as he entered the fourth room. He looked around and saw 5 items, 2 puppets, 2 artifacts, and 1 talisman. The aura in these artifacts made his treasured eyes shine. He walked to them, found notes before these things and read them. The first puppet is your Tao protector. Unfortunately, our sect is under intense gaze, so we could only provide you with a paragon puppet with 90% strength. However, it is designed to burn itself to increase its power in an emergency, so use it appropriately. Wang Wei looked at this puppet, and it looked indistinguishable from a normal human. He even checked with his divine sense, could not tell it was a puppet, and only noticed it after using other abilities. I can't believe I would have another Tao protector in my life, Wang Wei thought. He shook his head before continuing with the note. The second puppet is a death substitute puppet, a longevity treasure to save your life. They went all out, Wang Wei thought, genuinely surprised. He had his reservations about the Sect's help for two reasons. Firstly, he worried they would not treat him so well because the ancestors were not there, and he was just an Empyrean from the lower dimension. He guessed they would treat him because of his talent and achievement, but not to this extent. The second and primary reason is the Tao opening Sect's motto of not cuddling geniuses. He thought that with those rules, they would have provided him with the basics and left him to his own device. He turned to look at the first artifact, a small black gold armor with a metal ball floating next to it, all encased in a white ball slightly larger than his palm. This is the Black Dragon armor set, a supreme chaos treasure left for you. Be careful that the burden and backlash of using such a weapon is heavy despite being way less than any Paragon artifact. Wang Wei's eyes shine. With this thing, I may be able to fight a weaker Paragon for a short period. He smiled before focusing on the second artifact. So familiar, he thought as he looked at the turtle shell. This is the Bashian turtle shell, another supreme chaos treasure for divination. I believe this should work well with your Tao. Wang Wei smiled brightly. Whoever designed this is very meticulous. He looked at the last item, the talisman. A tier 12 void rushing talisman to run away against these parasites. I don't think I need to say this, but there is no shame in running away. Pick your battle since your life matters more than even this so-called destiny. And once again use this with caution. Wang Wei put everything away before walking to the last room. This one contained a note and a talisman. Sadly, this is all the help we can currently provide. However, the situation is truly dire, and you have no more hope or options. You can return to the Sect and we will protect you even at the cost of our destruction. We have held back ourselves and endured the humiliation ever since these people came to power. But if they push us too far, we do not mind dying in a blaze of glory. What a powerful will, Wang Wei thought. He could tell the person who wrote this note truly felt this way. Although it was not guaranteed that this was the whole Sect's attitude, it was still impressive. Lastly, the talisman contained ways for you to contact us. You only need to leave a mark at these recorded locations, and we will find a way to bypass our surveillance and contact you. Wang Wei checked the talisman, and it contained many areas all over the world considered safe spots to initiate contact. I don't plan to drag you guys into this, so you may have hope of plausible deniability in case everything goes wrong, Wang Wei thought as he annihilated this secret dimension, leaving no traces. He then used his power to remove all invisible and undetectable traces before teleporting away. His next destination was to find the Masked Clan. He needed to know how capable these guys were and whether there would be any trouble by using them. Then he would reunite with Wang Qi and the Fate Shadow Guards to start enacting his plan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1206 Who to Target First? Wang Wei's destination was near the Chu Divine Dynasty's area of control, which was the primary base of the development of the Masked Clan. However, as soon as Wang Wei landed, he immediately discovered an intense surveillance. Myriad invisible ghosts patrolled the area, keeping track of everyone they saw. This is on the fringe of their territory. I didn't expect them to have so many eyes, Wang Wei thought. From what he knew, this world was once divided into 13 firmaments that corresponded to the 13 overlords. However, after the rise of the 2 suns and 7 moons, the world was not divided into 9. However, even in the era of the 13 overlords, they could not completely control their territories due to how vast the world was. The situation of the 7 moons should have been worse as large stretches of their territories were unoccupied or left alone. The current area was one of them, meaning the Chu Divine Dynasty should not have had much influence. Are they desperate to find me? Or just looking for anyone who opposes their power? Wang Wei calmly thought. No, the Blood Dragon's territory was not under much scrutiny, so this must be purely related to the Earth Emperor. Did he learn about my status as an Earth Emperor and is desperately looking for him? Wang Wei was not surprised someone purposely or accidentally revealed his titles and achievements from the lower dimension. He expected it and even allowed it to happen as it could be used for his plan to deal with the Earth Emperor. The more desperate he is to become a true Earth Emperor, the easier it will be to manipulate him, Wang Wei sneered before heading to his destination. Despite the current situation, the Masked Clan was well hidden in another dimension. Wang Wei quickly found them with the help of the Heaven Seal. Who are you? A man appeared before him, wearing black skin-tight clothes and a mask covering his face including the eyes. He was on high alert with 2 short swords underneath his wrist. Wang Wei calmly looked at him. Although the man looked alone, his eyes saw hundreds of invisible people already surrounding him. Their response is quick and their invisible technique is excellent, he commented. However, from their aura, it's obvious these guys haven't experienced much fighting in a long time. I hope this is just the group in charge of guarding their base. He calmly took out the seal. The Heaven Seal, said the visible man, his voice full of horror, excitement and uncertainty. Someone go notify the Patriarch. Wang Wei continued observing while waiting. The unique aura of creation life form is gone from these people, which can only happen if their creator dies/grants them their freedom and spends years breeding with non-creation lives. A few seconds later, a middle-aged man dressed in a black gold robe rushed toward Wang Wei, and he immediately frowned as this so-called patriarch also did not have the aura of someone who had experienced much blood. Lord Emissary, you're finally here. After so long, we thought the sect had abandoned us, said the well-dressed man, almost kneeling to Wang Wei. What do I call you? My name, no title, is Prime Mask. Good name, Wang Wei nodded. Thank you. I'm glad your clan is still loyal, Wang Wei continued, looking at him intensely. The Dao opening sect did not leave any restrictions on these people because their purpose for existing was to have unaffiliated eyes not connected to the sect. As such, they did not leave controlling measures to prevent anyone from being suspicious after discovering this fact. Of course, the sect used other means like countless epochs of brainwashing and proving resources. Sadly, after the ultimate taboo and being forced to be sealed, these other unaffiliated factions had the opportunity to rebel. Prime Mask felt a deep cold rushing through his veins and soul. We would never forsake our creator. I hope so, Wang Wei nodded. Summon all the clan members, and I mean everyone. Those in important missions or assignments that cannot be left unattended must send a projection or a valid explanation. They have a week. I understand. They'll do it immediately, said Prime Mask. Good. Give me a private room to rest. The Patriarch personally led Wang Wei to a quiet room and bowed down before leaving. Wang Wei ignored the people secretly watching his room and was left deep in thought. Although the Mask clan appeared subpar in the fighting area, even though one of their areas of expertise should have been assassination, he was satisfied with their acquisition because of their unique ability skin assimilation. The original Mask clan members were born in an invisible and intangible state. They took form only after taking another creature's skin, thus inheriting that creature's face, memory, aura, ability, and even bloodline. However, after years of breeding and evolution, they were all born looking like humans but with the skin assimilation ability. Additionally, they can train themselves to enter a state of invisibility. Their ability will blend perfectly with the Fate Shadow Guard's method, Wang Wei thought. His guard can steal someone's fate, so adding this skin assimilation ability was a double insurance. While waiting for everyone's arrival, Wang Wei summoned the Black Dragon armor set and dropped his blood in it to recognize it as its master, followed by using his soul to imprint on the artifact. He did the same for all the others. Once he was done, he summoned the Death Substitute puppet, deep in thought. I now have 2 extra lives, so maybe I should be a little more reckless, Wang Wei thought. He pondered the benefit of sacrificing one of those lives to directly attack the base of one of these parasites. What are the pros and cons of such a move? Wang Wei thought. I can use such an attack to force them to return or send a projection. This is the best way to discover how deep the foundation of these people is. My guards can even use the chaos opportunity to infiltrate their faction's upper echelons. As for the cons? I can only use this tactic once and will reveal my strength and trump cards, which is not necessarily bad since I will have to reveal it eventually. The issue is whether revealing them so early is the right move. Wang Wei was lost in thought, thinking of more pros and cons. For example, his actions will make rallying people behind his cause easier after having a significant reputation. After all, just being the Destined One is not enough. A con of this action would be that neutral and more conservative factions would be more reluctant to follow him due to his radical actions and movements. Overall, this seems to be the perfect way to announce my presence to the world and get things moving, Wang Wei concluded. Now the question is, which one to attack? With a thought, he created a chessboard with 10 carved pieces. A Buddha, 1 floating eye, an hourglass, a red dragon, a multicolored phoenix, a black phoenix, a king in a black crown, a lightning bolt, a monk laughing lasciviously, and a Taoist priest. Disaster is not part of the equation. Wang Wei flipped the lightning bolt to its size before stopping. Maybe I can turn him to my side. He put the lightning bolt to the side. He then separated the Buddha and I from the rest as they were not in consideration. He looked at the board for a while before picking up the hourglass. Time Eater is the greatest threat, making him an ideal candidate since I would love to strip off all that mystery. However, the only way I would have a chance to confront him would be to achieve Taboo Battle Realm and unlock all my soul powers and willpower. Wang Wei could now use his soul power and willpower for an extended period with his current cultivation realm and fleshly body cultivation. However, there was still something stopping him: karma backlash. Whatever he did in the void amassed him a severe amount of karma, which was not wholly washed off even after reincarnation. Let's eliminate Time Eater for now, he thought before putting the piece back. He observed the board for a while before sighing. He looked at the Buddha and the eye, focusing on the former. Ultimately, none of my plans are useful without knowing on which side she stands, Wang Wei thought. He could plan as he wants, but the game is over as long as one of the two sons interferes. Before anything else, I must meet Maitreya to gauge her personality, thoughts, goals, and allegiance. He understood that he was only alive now because of her protection. Although he did not like this fact, it was true. Despite knowing this, he also needed to know what kind of person she was and her possible motive. Otherwise, he might become a pawn she used to deal with these parasites in supreme unity. In that case, my first move is to talk to her, he thought firmly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1207 Revelations. Now that he had made a decision, Wang Wei needed to think how to approach her. He could try to hide in the source chi space and send a projection, but since he can navigate that thing, he did not think that a half-step transcendence could not do the same. Should I use the plan I have for supreme unity? No, this plan requires a lot of preparation, and I need more information to determine whether it can even succeed, Wang Wei thought. In the end, he decided to take the risk. The power difference was too vast, and his cultivation was weak, limiting much of his options. So he must take the risk and enter the lion's den. As for how he will meet Maitreya, the answer was simple. He only needed to find a Buddhist temple and say her name. Wang Wei did not believe for a second these two did not have ways to contact or influence the world during their fight. That's why he stayed away from Taoism and left them as the last piece to dispose of. Wang Wei stood up, looking into the distance. If he could get Maitreya's support, he would have more freedom and less restraint on his actions. If she's his enemy and plans to use him as a pawn, he can prepare now. In the worst-case scenario, she determined him an unstable factor and decided to eliminate me, Wang Wei thought. If that happens, the only move I can make is to try to summon Hongjun for help. Wang Wei grunted, not liking how he had to rely on others for his survival. However, his current weak self cannot be helped. In fact, he has other options, for example, accepting his status as a fate seed. As long as he does, he believes fate or even Grand Tao will somehow guarantee his survival. However, he would rather die than become their puppet. He no longer hesitated and teleported away. He needed peace of mind and to understand the complete picture of his situation. The sooner he does this, the more time he will have to prepare for all possibilities. It took him a few hours to teleport to his destination. That's how vast the world was. Of course, if he used the available teleportation arrays, the process would have been instant. However, Wang Wei was technically a fugitive and needed to be careful. He soon arrived at a monastery with a common name, White Lotus Temple. The abbot was an Empyrean, making this faction very powerful in the current political climate. However, Wang Wei did not feel the slightest danger, meaning they did not have any Paragon Array or Tier 12 powers, an indication that their temple did not originate from an ancient lineage and probably recently rose during this era. As Wang Wei looked at the temple, he thought, Hunger, this is the second time I'm risking my life because of you. The first time paid out, I hope the second time also does. His wife believed in Maitreya's innocence and he believed in her. He quietly entered the core of the White Lotus Temple, where they preserved their luck-condensing artifact. The place was crowded with formations, but Wang Wei manipulated these formations into thinking he was their master and had full access. He found himself in a room with a silver Buddha statue and a white lotus artifact floating above its palms. Wang Wei took a deep breath before bowing. Mother Maitreya, I humbly request a meeting. As soon as his words finished, time paused around him for a few seconds before a woman appeared in the room. Wang Wei's first thought was that she was beautifully ordinary. Her visage was indeed beautiful, even heavenly, but her demeanor, presence, clothes, and aura were all ordinary. These two opposite concepts perfectly blended with her and her very well-hidden noble or holy presence. I've been waiting to meet you for a while now, Mithraea said with a smile. You were? You are very guarded against me. I can't help myself, Your Excellency. Your strength and, well, reputation are not exactly signs that I should not be guarded, Wang Wei replied, observing everything around him, including every single subatomic particle in this room. Mithraea chuckled. I would never hurt you. After all, you're technically my grandson. Wang Wei's body paused. He understood the tactic of saying outrageous things to throw an opponent off guard, but wasn't this too much? Could it be her flawed method of transcending that fried her mind and made her crazy? No, it can't be. There haven't been any signs. No, I'm not crazy, Mithraea said, making Wang Wei's lips twitch. He controlled his emotions. Then what does your word mean? A thought came to his mind, but he could not believe it. You should know what happened to me that led to the corruption of Buddhism in the lower dimension? I only know that Li Bo used some means to divide your mind into two, your pure and devilish side. The consequences of those failures were more impactful than you can imagine, Mithraea stated. In the process, I lost control of many of my true avatars. That's possible? Although rare, it's possible under specific situations. Wang Wei grunted. Then? The escaped avatars knew of their status, and most tried to escape my influence. One was highly successful in this endeavor and became one of the prime Yama kings of the eternal Ascension world. Wang Wei detected a hint of pride in Mithraea's voice. The way she cultivated involved experiencing countless reincarnations, and one of her clones was Mao Yu, your grandmother. Wang Wei was officially speechless. Is this why she was born with such an unparalleled state of mind? Why couldn't I sense my grandfather's reincarnation? That's correct. It seems she acknowledged the relationship with your grandfather and chose to train him herself. Our Wang clan is truly blessed, Wang Wei commented since he was still processing her words. Indeed, Mithraea nodded with profound eyes. It seems you have many questions. Ask away. From your tone, it appeared as if you never tried to recapture your avatars. What? Wang Wei immediately asked. Li Ba's actions were a blessing in disguise. After I conquered my devil self, my spiritual practice reached another level. It's because of that event that I became a primal paragon. By then, I realized these avatars were now their own individual entity. A few had proven their Tao, and their imprint differed from mine. Even their existence was different, so I let them be. You're a better person than me, Wang Wei commented. He would have hunted these little bastards down and exiled them from this mortal coil. Many of them died fighting each other, Mithraea said with sadness. Some even tried to kill me to become the original. Had they realized they now had their own path and future, who knows what they could have achieved now. Wang Wei nodded before quieting down. You can ask, she reassured. Why did you do it? Mithraea knew what he meant. She was innocent, as she contributed to how the current world situation developed into such a state. After we left the ultimate taboo, supreme unity, and I reached a cultivation level that could be described as pseudo-half-step transcendence, Mithraea calmly explained. If we wanted to reach that level truly, we needed the world to be highly peaceful, with no disturbance. We then worked together to eliminate all the paragons that did not participate in the taboo and the other Tier 12 from other paths, and prevented anyone from reviving from limbo. Mithraea sighed deeply. I would like to excuse my action by saying that I preserved the Tao imprint of all these paragons, but I still caused the deaths of countless people, including my own. Wang Wei had many thoughts, but he needed a quiet place to organize and digest them. What about these parasites? Any reason they were chosen? Originally, everyone should have been killed. However, just as we were about to eliminate Time Eater, he convinced us that we needed stewards to keep the world calm and orderly. He suggested most of the others because they were weak and incompetent but ambitious, making them easier to control. We agreed and chose someone from our factions to be part of this new council before retreating. By the time we finished, the situation became like this. The worst part is that Supreme Unity's personality has changed. He became colder and more indifferent and reneged on our agreement. Agreement? We were supposed to reverse everything after the breakthrough, Mithraea explained. Allow our old friend to return and share our progress. Share? You're willing to share such a technique? Wang Wei asked. Of course, Mithraea replied without hesitation. I was stuck in the Paragon realm for a long time. Then Wang Qixin appeared and told us about his plan. He organized the Second Origin War that summoned the ultimate taboo. Although there were some problems throughout everything, my newfound strength was the proof that the plan worked. I understood the need for communication and sharing ideas to walk further in the path of transcendence, so I never planned to hide the technique. But Supreme Unity did not share your idea? Wang Wei asked. He did not. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1208 Grandmother. He started acting as if everyone else was beneath him. Based on his words, he did not think these lowly creatures could help him in his path, and their purpose was to serve and worship him, Betrayal explained. Do you think he was always like that, or did he suddenly change? Wang Wei asked. I don't know for sure, Betrayal replied. Before the ultimate taboo, Supreme Unity was an odd man for sure, but he never showed any signs that his personality was this twisted. Maybe he's been hiding for so long, or maybe his oddness made him susceptible to change or influence. Ultimately, I don't think that matters for now. True, Wang Wei nodded. One more question. What exactly is your realm? How do you achieve it? He'll tell you everything after this mess is cleaned up and you've become a paragon. I guess I should have expected this. There is certain information you cannot contact until you're of a certain strength or realm. This rule is not as strict for you because you've deduced these secrets on your own, but it still exists. These words brought Wang Wei to his time in the lower dimension when he could ask his wife about many secrets of heaven and earth. Sometimes, Heavenly Tao or even Grand Tao would stop their conversation. Sadly, he was forced to rely on his brain to get these secrets after she left. Any more questions? One last question. Do I call you Grandma? Wang Wei asked without shame, making Betrayal laugh. Grandma. I remember years ago when I was a mortal, I always wanted a family, she reminisced. However, I've renounced these sectarian concepts after so long. So, that's a no? Do you want to call me Grandma? Who wouldn't want such powerful and hopefully doting grandparents? Wang Wei replied cheekily. Betrayal's smile widened. As much as I would love for us to be this close, you should reserve that title for Mao Yu. She might indeed see it as a sign of disrespect, Wang Wei agreed, so he did not bring it on anymore. Now, let me ask you something. Oh? I think I'm an open book before someone of your level. On the contrary, you're a mystery, Betrayal responded. How? For example, I'm still baffled about your birth. Wang Wei frowned, but he did not speak and listened. You were born with a paragon quality and quantity soul. Even if they were sealed during your reincarnation, there is no way that Supreme Unity or I would not have noticed your birth. However, neither of us noticed until your final trial in the pagoda. What? Wang Wei was genuinely surprised by this question. I actually never thought of that. The best answer I can give you is, fate protected me, but something tells me it may not be that simple. Indeed, Betrayal nodded. She opened her mouth to say something, and her body suddenly became transparent like a phantom. She looked at the sky. It seems we can't talk for much longer. A few words before I leave. First, Supreme Unity will be doing something significant. I don't know what it is, but his silence is worrying. Second, Time Eater will be your biggest obstacle, not only because of whatever he's planning, which involves the infinite trichiliocosm, but because he's a pawn that Heavenly Book Paragon left in the world while we attended the ultimate taboo. Although he considered himself as breaking away from the latter's control, in a desperate matter, he might have tried to accept his fate to deal with you. Wang Wei frowned but still did not utter a word. Lastly, Wu Hong is in danger, Betrayal continued as her body was almost gone. A fierce light flashed in Wang Wei's eyes. She created something that he's very interested in. Adding her connection to you, eliminating her will deal a severe blow to you and kill two birds with one stone. After meeting you, I've confirmed that you two have an unparalleled destiny. However, she received the short end of the stick in that situation since it seems she needs you to activate that destiny. To be specific, she doesn't need you, but it will take too long for her to do it alone, but that's not the point. The point is you're currently protected by your destiny to some extent, but she's not. So, I recommend you remove her from the current situation until she activates her destiny. Betrayal disappeared, leaving Wang Wei alone to his thoughts. He did not wholly believe Betrayal, but for now, his intuition was telling him she was indeed on their side. He will still be vigilant and also double-check some things she said, but for the most part he's reassured. However, he was concerned about what she said about Wu Hong. Unparalleled destiny? She's probably talking about the destiny to walk the transcendent path. If that is true, she was not entirely correct. Future Honger changed the timeline by sending a clone in the past and, with the perfection method, activated my so-called transcendent destiny. So, I need to do the same by convincing her to establish the perfect foundation, which requires help from the dark truth that no longer exists. Wang Wei frowned. Wait, this might be the best opportunity to check if the dark truth is somehow related to my future self. His future self would find an opportunity to expand the dark truth to the upper dimension. The dark truth is not only the best way to activate her transcendent destiny but also hide and protect her during the current terrible situation. Once she succeeds, she will have a mild destiny protection from half-step transcendence, just like Maitreya suggested. Wang Wei had a bright smile on his face. Although he still needed to verify whether the dark truth was here, he was confident in his analysis. Unfortunately, a terrible realization dawned on him. She's technically no longer my wife, he thought with a painful heart. What if I can't woo her again and she severs our bond? No matter how powerful things like fate and destiny are, nothing is set in stone for people of their cultivation realm. They have a lot of choices and free will, meaning it's still possible for him and Wu Hong not to end up together. Okay, calm down, Wang Wei. You're handsome, suave, have a good personality, well, maybe not good but charming, and have great potential. I have hope if she's willing to give me a chance. After giving himself a pep talk, he calmed down. Despite how desperately he wanted to, now was not the time to meet her. Let's check on grandfather. He opened a portal to Samsara. Wang Wei found himself floating above two bridges that crossed a terrifying dark river. One bridge looked ordinary and the other was golden. The ordinary one was a passage for regular souls, but the golden one contained only immortal souls. Yet both were full of souls that kept on coming. The second thing he noticed was how stable this space was. He was shocked as he realized his full strength could not tear the space in this place. He could teleport but could not destroy the fabric of this space. Wang Wei then frowned as he sensed countless powerful gazes locked on him, seemingly warning him. However, they seemed to relax slightly after detecting his minor three-realm emperor status. He controlled himself and uttered, "Grandma, I'm here to see you." However, nothing happened after a few minutes, so Wang Wei continued. "I know you should be very busy, but my grandfather disappeared as he was reincarnating, and I know the family is worried about his whereabouts." Wang Wei then heard a sigh, followed by a peaceful voice with the power to naturally calm people down. "Did she tell you?" "She did. That was not her truth to reveal." "Probably, but it was also the best way to lower my guards against her," Wang Wei nodded. "Your grandfather is fine," Mao Yu's voice continued. "With my training he will live up to the expectations you have for him." "That's good to hear. However, I cannot meet or help you in any way or form, at least not now. I know there are strict rules and regulations in Samsara," Wang Wei replied. He did not expect any help. "I came to check on Grandpa and to ask your opinion on Maitreya." "It's good to be vigilant," Mao Yu praised. "As for her, she is someone who truly deserves the title of Buddha. However, her actions are the result of the conflicting ideals of Buddhism and cultivating in general. Buddhism requires a kind, peaceful, and non-confrontational mindset. Meanwhile, cultivation is all about power, a hierarchy, and the survival of the fittest. When presented with the opportunity to reach higher levels, Maitreya followed her instinct as a cultivator instead of a Buddha. Now she's living with regret and paying the consequences of her choice." Wang Wei pondered. His grandmother's words perfectly encapsulated the character profile he made for Maitreya after their short meeting. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1209. Another piece of the puzzle. Can I ask you something important? What Tao does Maitreya cultivate? Wang Wei asked. It's a unique Buddhist-focused Tao called Form/Formless Tao. Not Time Tao. No. I see. Well, thank you for the information, Wang Wei said. I'll be leaving now. Say hi to Grandpa for me and welcome to the family. Wang Wei had a lot to do and many things to ponder, so he did not waste much time in the afterlife. He opened a portal, preparing to return to the world of the living. Wait, said Mao Yu's voice. This is for you. A small cauldron appeared before Wang Wei. This? A supreme chaos treasure called the Moon Cauldron. It's a soul protection treasure, Mao Yu explained. It seems you're used to relying on your soul's uniqueness for defense, but that won't work anymore in the upper dimension. Be careful since this thing is only for protection and not for battle. Are you sure? If you're going to be in trouble, no need for concern, Mao Yu replied. I can spin this as a reward for your achievement of a 3-realm emperor. Twisting the rules? You're really my grandma. Mao Yu chuckled. Go and take care of yourself. When your father ascends, tell him to come see me. All right. Wang Wei returned to the White Lotus Temple with the artifact. He did not spend another second and instantly teleported to the masked clan since he had already been there and knew the spatial location. He sat in his room, pondering about his meeting with Mithraea. The greatest information I've pieced together from that meeting is that Mithraea used the River of Time for her transcendent path, Wang Wei thought. He concluded this for a few reasons. Mithraea's main Dao is Form Dao, and yet, when they meet, she stops time. Wang Wei reviewed the experience in his mind repeatedly and concluded it was not something she did on purpose or some utilization of law but an instinct. This is one of the missing puzzles. Paragon often uses the River of Time to navigate the vastness of primordial chaos or the source chi space. Their battle usually involved traveling to the past, eliminating their opponent when they were weak, and, on rare occasions, exploring the infinite Trichilia chasm. Supreme Unity wanted Paragons or their breakthrough to affect the eternal Ascension world, while Mithraea focused on protecting this world's branch of the River of Time. His eyes lit up. How to use the River of Time to become transcendent? Do you just absorb the enormous power from it? Or is it something like imitating its essence in our souls/sea of consciousness? Both were possible, but they could also be far from the truth. There is no point in thinking about this now. If she's telling the truth, he'll eventually know which method she used. An idea for achieving transcendence is one thing, and a concrete technique with specific instructions is another. Wang Wei then shifted his attention to what Mithraea said about his birth. He found another anomaly in his life and now he wanted answers. I can try to go back and experience it after becoming a paragon. This was the only way he could think of, but that might not work. After all, if a power is involved that can even slip through Mithraea and Supreme Unity's eyes, the chances of him discovering it are almost zero. Why is my life so complicated? Wang Wei complained before summoning the Moon Cauldron. Habit is a terrifying thing. I would have suffered tremendously had she not reminded him. Wang Wei was so used to not having to worry about his soul that he almost suffered a terrible loss before learning from this mistake. From now on, I must gather Paragon tier soul cultivation techniques and resources. He imprinted on the artifact before waiting for everyone from the Mask clan to gather. He spent his time reviewing all the clan's information and assessing their information-gathering capabilities. A month later, Wang Wei stood before a large field with countless members of the Mask clan kneeling before him. He glanced at the prime mask at the front. Is that everyone? Yes, Lord. But from what I know, this is only 70% of your clan. It's like this. Wang Wei raised his hand to stop him. He looked in the distance and with a thought, a countless karmic thread manifested from his palm. He tugged them, dragging countless more members into this dimension. Their leader was a confused woman baffled by how she suddenly returned to the clan against her will. Why did you betray the clan? Wang Wei asked. Who are you? She asked. Red Elder Mask, this is the Lord from the main sect, coming to regain control of the clan, Prime Mask swiftly said. A slight surprise flashed in Red Elder Mask's face, but she remained stoic as she stared at Wang Wei. What are you doing? Quickly acknowledge your mistake. The Red Elder Mask remained unmoved. I see, Wang Wei uttered. You're an ambitious individual, so you resented that such an incompetent person was chosen as patriarch instead of you. She gritted her teeth. Our assassination branch performs the most demanding tasks with a low survival rate while these bastards stay comfortably in their position. Yet, we are looked over for the patriarch position every generation. Don't talk nonsense, yelled Prime Mask. No, let her speak, Wang Wei said. We simply refuse to be overlooked anymore, she finished. Wang Wei's eyes suddenly became profound, as if the fate of all sentient beings existed in them. Red Elder Mask's face turned pale. With that single gaze, she felt so tiny and weak. It was as if she was a bug facing not a human but a towering dragon. Her first instinct was to activate her inner world to resist, but her battle senses as a Dao ruler warned her that she would die faster if she did. As she was about to explode from the pressure, it suddenly dissipated. Wang Wei smiled. I like ambitious people but only when they are competent. Luckily, your group is the only one I consider barely competent in this clan. He raised his palm, and the fate lines of all the Mask clan members wrapped around his finger and palm. A rune emanated from his soul and fused with the line. Your fates are now mine, he declared before fixing his gaze on another Elder of the Black. This one was the Yellow Elder Mask. Have a problem with what I did? The Yellow Elder Mask's body trembled, and he swiftly lowered his head. You didn't have a problem when the sect supported you for who knows how long. Didn't you already know your fate from the day of your inception? No one said a word, so Wang Wei focused on the group at large. As I said, only the assassin squad is barely competent, meaning you'll need to undergo training, Wang Wei announced. From now on, you're members of my Fate Shadow Guard. I'll advise you to abandon all ideas and notions about your previous life. Do not cling to your former status and power since they are meaningless. This is the mindset you'll need to survive, grow stronger, and regain your honor and dignity. Do you understand? Yes, sir, everyone replied in unison. That's the spirit. Go prepare, he ordered. We will leave here in a few days. Wang Wei walked away, waiting for Wang Qi's arrival. Red Elder Mask looked at his back, deep in thought. Maybe this is not a bad thing. All she wanted was an opportunity to display her talent and receive the power and honor she deserves. The Mask clan's corruption blocked her path, but she might have a chance with this new leader and system. 3 days later, Wang Qi arrived at the Mask clan and was directly teleported to Wang Wei's room. You're late. He contacted Wang Qi a month ago as soon as he arrived. Patriarch, you don't understand how chaotic the situation is, Wang Qi replied. Everyone is looking for you. There are random checks in almost every territory, so it was difficult to get here while hiding my identity. Is that so? Wang Wei muttered. It seems we will need an independent transportation system. That is a must, Wang Qi swiftly nodded. Otherwise, our work will be 100 times more challenging. We can create a subspace system for our people to travel. Like the ones we build for mortals? Exactly, Wang Wei nodded. The only issue is how to hide it from everyone else. If we had a Space Chaos Supreme treasure, we could use it, even adding the Heaven Deceiving Array. However, such treasure is rare. Wang Qi's eyes suddenly lit up. Should we ask the sect for support? No need to involve them, especially since we have a better option. Better option? You mean our base and the former residents of the Dao burial ground? Exactly. We used the ascending treasure chi you provided, evolving the treasure from chaos to supreme innate treasure. However, it's a long way to the supreme chaos treasure tier. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:10 First Contact. We can feed the Dao burial ground more ascending treasure chi until it becomes a top supreme innate treasure, Wang Wei commented. There are only a few ways to elevate the rank of innate treasures. The most common is to have someone of a higher cultivation nourish it. In the case of a chaos treasure, someone of rank 11 would need to nourish it before it evolved into a supreme innate treasure. Empyreans and Dao rulers need to use the pure grand Dao source nourishment, but the most effective baptism is from an earth pre-march. However, if we want it to evolve to the next level, we need a unique rank 12 chi. Wang Qi smiled wryly. Sect Master, where in heaven will we find something like this? Instead of doing something so pointless, we might as well search for a supreme chaos treasure. Although the Dao burial ground's primary attribute is hiding, making it perfect for a subspace system, it may not be worth all the trouble. Wang Wei shook his head. You're limiting your thinking. We don't have to do everything as long as we have the right allies. The right allies? You mean the celestial race, Wang Qi stated, having figured out his sect master's intention. Indeed, if a faction with such a unique chi exists, it would be them. The issue is convincing them to part with such a heavy gift. Whether they give it or not can also be a test of how much they are willing to invest in our cause, Wang Wei added. We need to know in advance whether their clan will stay in hiding and do the bare minimum to contribute to the end of this era or invest fully. What choice do you think they'll make? Wang Qi asked. I cannot say for sure, Wang Wei replied as he looked in the distance. Ending this era means returning to the golden age where the 13 overlords reign supreme. Some people are happy about this while others want a new world order. From what I know, the Celestial clan used to be an upper-lower member of the Myriad Clan Union, one of the 13 overlords. Maybe they want to use this opportunity to climb the political ladder in their faction, or they simply want to return to the old times without much desire. We'll have to see. Wang Qi sighed, feeling how inadequate he was at looking at the overall situation compared to his sect master. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. I'll contact the celestial race only after settling our base and start expanding the Fate Shadow Guard, Wang Wei stated. Now, tell me of the current situation. This is the information you want, Wang Qi said as he handed him a jade talisman. As you ordered, I focus on establishing the base, gathering more members for the guards, and maintaining our relationship with the rebellion. Wang Wei shifted through the information. So, the new rising member was indeed Xiao Tiandi. It seems he's gotten his life together. Did my words get to him or did something else happen? And Purple Chaos Emperor? Did he choose Chaos Dao? With his talent, it's fitting. He's an interesting character, Wang Qi commented. Many people still talk about his so-called redemption even today. A disappointing genius that finally shows its brilliance is worthy of gossiping about, especially since his master has such fame, Wang Wei nodded. He frowned a few seconds later. What about the news about the fiend god Blood or Dao Monarch Qinwo? I didn't mention them in the briefing because I've only gathered unconfirmed and probably unreliable rumors, Wang Qi explained. What rumors? The rumor is that two of the parasites had an altercation more than 10,000 yuan epoch ago over a body refining inheritance. I tried to confirm the rumor, but some said it was between Five Feather and Undead Phoenix, while others said it was between Time Eater and Blood Dragon. Wang Wei grunted. What about the Tier 11 fiend god Blood? This rumor has more substance, Wang Qi replied. There is a chance that the treasury of the Divine Chu dynasty has some in reserve. Them? It seems I may have to visit Shirulan. Wang Wei remembered that kind and enthusiastic girl that can instantly change into an overbearing and domineering ruler during battle. Sect Master, is this wise? After all, she is the Earth Emperor's daughter. If she has the slightest ambitions, she'll understand that her father is a blocking stone in her path, Wang Wei remarked. I only need to nudge her in the right direction and she might turn on him. That could work. All right, let's leave, Wang Wei stated. He did not waste time and teleported everybody to the Dao burial ground. As soon as Wang Wei arrived, two people teleported before him, all on guard. I'm pleased with your response time, Wang Wei praised. Master. The two guards immediately knelt on the floor. He was about to tell them to get up when he suddenly frowned. Who's in charge of security? That would be Yin Wingzhu, code name Bright Shadow, replied one of the guards. Summon her. A petite woman dressed in black appeared a few seconds later, and she immediately knelt after seeing Wang Wei. Master. You've disappointed me. Bright Shadow's body trembled after hearing these words. There are two things that all guards fear and hate the most. Mission failures, which are sometimes unavoidable, and the Master's disappointment. Master, what did I do wrong? She swiftly asked. Someone has infiltrated our base and it's an Empyrean, Wang Wei stated calmly while looking in the distance. The base contained countless hidden dimensions that were mainly used for training. Bright Fate's face turned pale, and the situation worsened when Wang Wei's gaze shifted to all of them. You're also to blame for not discovering the intruder. The other already had sweat on their backs. We will accept punishment. The worst thing a guard can do is make excuses for its failure. I'll forgive you this time since you're still adapting to how things operate in the upper dimension. However, there should not be a second time, understand? We do. Good. Wang Wei nodded before pointing to the quiet masked clan members behind him. These are the recruits I brought. They have a special talent, so try incorporating it into our system. Your will shall be done, replied Wendeming, code name Fate Virtue, since he's in charge of training while Plum Fate runs all outside operations. In other words, they will serve under him once these people are appropriately trained. As Wang Wei watched these people disperse, he secretly shook his head. He chose these three because of their abilities. He even spent years tracking unique Insurgent Chi for them to ensure their strength would be helpful after ascending. Yet this happened. I miss Wang Ju, he thought. He desperately needed someone competent to lead his guard. Maybe that Red Elder mask will prove to be what I need. Otherwise, I'll need to search for someone else. Master, what should we do about the spy? Wang Qi asked, his face also pale. Although this was not his job, he blamed himself for such an enormous blunder. I'll deal with him, Wang Wei said before disappearing. He entered the Source Chi space with an ordinary-looking man bound by golden chains. The man looked at him fiercely. He did not expect for him to be discovered and captured so easily. Such overwhelming strength scared him, but his training allowed him to compose himself. You're very well trained, Wang Wei commented. I'm guessing you won't say anything. The spy continued staring at him. To cultivate an Empyrean as a spy and even train him to immediately try to eliminate himself after being captured. I'm very curious about your master. He entered this man's sea of consciousness to look at his soul. As expected, A potent restriction that leaves me useless. He sighed as he glanced at the complex magic circle above the sky and this spy's soul. I guess we're doing this the old-fashioned way. He returned to the material world and looked this man in the eyes. You should have trained to resist torture, but how high is your pain threshold? The spy stared at him and Wang Wei smiled. He activated his pain innate talent and had this man experience the pain of his tribulation. Not a second had passed before the man's shriek echoed in this infinite space full of pure energy. Wang Wei tuned out all the noise, focusing on preventing this man's spirit or psyche from collapsing while also not activating the restriction in his soul. Ready to talk? Wang Wei asked, but all he received was that intense stare. I forgot you're a tough guy. Well, this first session was only 10 seconds. Let's try to triple the time for the second one. The spy's face turned deathly pale. He felt like he lived in a world of pain for an eternity before it stopped. Now this devilish bastard told him only 10 seconds had passed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:11 Welcome Message Fine, I'll speak. Please make it stop, said the spy, his eyes devoid of hope. By now he only wanted one thing, relief brought by sweet death. Sadly, he knew this devil would never grant him his wish unless he spoke. Luckily, speaking is another way to fulfill his desire. Good, Wang Wei nodded. I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to answer it exactly as I asked. Understand? The spy barely nodded. Let's see. I need to be subtle to prevent triggering the restriction, which will most likely result in his self-explosion, Wang Wei thought. After compiling a plan, he summoned the Bashin turtle shell to boost his divination capabilities. His eyes turned all gray as he channeled the power of fate. Will he explode if I ask him what organization he works for? Yes. What about the name of a useless or abandoned base? Yes. A mission with no relevance to his employer? Yes. What if I ask him about his code name? Maybe? Wang Wei thought as he focused. This bastard will actively use a triggering word to commit suicide? I need to watch out for that. He continued his divination for a few seconds before asking the first question. Tell me all the places you've been to before arriving at our base. No need to be specific. Just state the overall area, city, continent, or area. Such a strange question momentarily disoriented the spy, but he answered. Right before teleporting to the base, I was in Sunset City. Wang Wei nodded while observing this man intensely. Sunset City was one of the places where the Fate Shadow Guards recruited new members. Before that, I was on the Black Earth continent. There is a silence. Wang Wei cut him off. Do you want to experience it a fourth time? The spy's body trembled as he shut his mouth. He hesitated for a moment, but he saw Wang Wei's eyes. He told the latter of the last two places he was in before arriving here. If I follow his trajectory, he came from one of Taoism's territories. Is he from a faction under the Seven Cauldron? Or directly from Supreme Unity's core power? Wang Wei was deep in thought before asking the second question. Recount verbatim how a typical conversation with your subordinate usually goes. No need to mention any classified information or phrase. The spy was again puzzled, but he followed orders. It was odd to reenact a conversation, but whatever prevented him from suffering. So, his status was that of a vice commander, Wang Wei analyzed from the retelling. And there are more than one. How many Empyreans have you met in your life? What? I don't know. Quickly. About 125. Of these 125, how many did you attempt and succeed to kill? I've killed 34, failed 6 times. How many did you have a friendly spar with? 1. And why did you lose? Wang Wei continued, and after hearing this answer, Wang Wei thought. I can confirm 20 other vice commanders, all Empyreans. Now, let's check if Dao rulers and immortal sovereigns are in that position. He asked more questions about the other paths, about people the spy respected dearly without any specifics, and many more. About 33 vice commanders and 5 commanders, with a few that are likely everlasting, Wang Wei thought. Let's see if I can deduce their organizational structure from him. Wang Wei opened his mouth to ask something but stopped himself before uttering a single word. He looked in the distance. Already here? They are faster than I anticipated. He glanced at the spy and without hesitation, he chopped his head and extinguished his soul. Wang Wei disappeared, leaving the headless body on the ground. A group of 5 individuals dressed in all white appeared. That body shape, "It's Vice Commander Urshi," said one of the spies. Their leader, the only one whose clothes contained stripes of black, 24 to be exact, calmly observed everything. "I can't believe he died so horribly. Wasn't his mission to investigate news about the Destined One? I can't believe that was his end." The people from the stargazing pavilion should have done a better job warning of the mission's difficulty. Vice Commander Urshi is an upper middle moon commander. Losing him is a great loss. Their leader frowned as he looked at the body. He suddenly felt something was wrong but could not pinpoint what exactly. "Quiet," he ordered, stopping this nonsensical chatter. "Someone go verify if his Tao imprint still exists." "Yes, Vice Commander Urshi." "I'll get to." Bang chains suddenly manifested out of nowhere, capturing everyone but the leader. A shield appeared around him, blocking Wang Wei's attack. "It's you," Urshi declared after seeing Wang Wei's true face. He also understood what his intuition was warning him. His men are originally better trained than this and should not be discussing the organization's news so openly, even if they were in a safe space among colleagues. So, it's obvious someone used a spiritual influence technique on them to influence them to talk and reveal more information. "So you know me," Wang Wei said. The leader was correct, as he had gathered significant information from their conversation. Number 24? He should be a lower upper moon. If the person with the number 24 has the same cultivation as me, the strongest, number 33, should be a peak Empyrean. Wang Wei's gaze then shifted to this man's shield. It was not Ursa's strength that saved him, but a potent talisman. "I pity you," Ursi suddenly declared after calming down. "Do you know the fate of anyone who goes against our supreme ruler? Believe me when Wang Wei did not listen to him as he clenched his hand, releasing a power that broke apart the shield. Ursa's face contorted as he mobilized his 5-element Tao. Sadly for him, Wang Wei sealed him with a thought. A ruthless light flashed in Vice Commander Ursa's eyes, and it followed a small sword that left his head and immediately released a brilliant golden light that wiped out all energy/chi in the surroundings. Ursi immediately knew something was wrong when he realized he was alive despite his severe injuries. His suicidal endeavors should have taken his life as well. He looked at the perfectly intact Wang Wei. "What kind of monster are you?" He knew the Destined One should have just ascended, so he could not fathom how he was already this strong. "You'll know soon," Wang Wei replied before using his technique, Fate Puppet. His fingers released gray strings attached to Ursa's body. He did not touch his soul but isolated it while controlling the body. Let's send a welcoming message, Wang Wei thought. He found the karmic link between Ursi and his Tao imprint in the Grand Tao Source, leaving his true will on it to remove at the correct time. His next step was finding his Tao imprint, which took a little time since he died. Luckily, he died before activating his motion, so Wang Wei was able to find him after using Karma Tao, divination, and the zoning of his Tao will. After properly killing Urshi, he checked the souls of the regular members with no success. They'll need to do something about these restrictions. However, him surprised Supreme Unity left Seven Cauldron in charge of making these restrictions instead of himself. Did it think it was beneath him? He probably thought such secrets were beneath him to protect personally. Wang Wei could see that only a few things would warrant the Taoist tyrant to place a restriction personally, and it should probably be something he genuinely wanted to hide from Betrayal. Wang Wei activated the restrictions and watched how these regular members exploded. He then disappeared, and immediately following his departure, the only survivor, Ursi, began to fly away desperately, his aura decreasing with each passing moment. A few minutes later, another group found him in the Source Chi space. "Hurry, important news, Destined One is?" Ursi muttered before passing out. The group was shocked and quickly fed him a healing pill. However, he did not wake up, so they returned to their base, hoping to wake him up to get the information he had acquired. Boom. Ursa's body exploded the moment they teleported to their base. The explosion was intense since he was an Empyrean after all. However, the damage it created was zero. The people carrying his body were severely injured, but no one died. The reason is that the Paragon formation in their base immediately activated and isolated the blast. In fact, Wang Wei expected this outcome. That's why Ursi exploded instantly after arriving. He knew there would be a formation to detect that he was controlled. Regardless, he did not care since his purpose was to send a message and confirm that these people were part of Seven Cauldron's forces, which he did after sensing the blast location. Once that was done, he removed Ursa's Tao imprint before returning to his base. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:12 Recruiting, Unedited Chapter. It took Wang Wei a few minutes before he could return to his base, and that's because of the new location. After detecting the spy, he immediately changed the Dao burial grounds location. He did not know how much information Urshi had already reported, so he must be careful. After returning home, Wang Wei served himself some Longjue tea to soothe his mind and think. They probably found us through divination. Taoism was excellent at divination and calculation. Although they could not calculate Wang Wei, they could do so for the people around him. I need to upgrade our anti-divination abilities, Wang Wei pondered. Not just that, I also need to improve their training method and how they operate. He realized that his Fate Shadow Guards were not the only ones who needed to change and adapt to how things operated in the upper dimension. It seems like there are too many things to do with very little time, Wang Wei thought as he sipped his drink. No, I feel this way because my mindset hasn't changed from the lower dimension. This war will not end in a few thousand years or even a few million years. This battle could take epochs, and I need to accept that and take things slowly. Wang Wei calmed down, readjusting his mindset and his plan. Once he finished the tea, he summoned Wang Qi. Sect Master. Go ask the rebellion for their information on Seven Cauldrons Spy Agency. No problem, but Sect Master, wouldn't this be a good opportunity for you to contact them? Wang Wei shook his head. Keeping an air of mystery will be more helpful to me in the early stages. Our first direct contact should also be with their leader. Otherwise, some people might try to play political games, and I don't want to deal with such nonsense. As you wish. Wang Qi had a special communication room for contacting the rebellion, so he went to use it. A few minutes later, he sent a projection to Wang Wei's room. Sect Master, they are asking for payment? Wang Wei raised his hand to summon a head. Who's this? Vice Commander airs his head. How valuable is this? Wang Qi asked so he knows how to negotiate the maximum profit. Notability, even infamy, is crucial to their cause. So, claiming the kill for an Empyrean in one of such an organization is very valuable. It should be more than enough for high-level and detailed news. Wang Qi took the head and disappeared. He returned 2 hours later with a scroll. The Hidden Sun Moon Sect? Wang Wei read everything, gaining a deeper understanding of this organization. 3 things caught his attention after reading this briefing. Firstly, the rebellion mentioned how talented and scary the leader of this sect, the First Son, was. They even stated that the First Son was one of the few Empyreans their leader was wary of. Secondly, a brief passage mentions how the Hidden Sun Moon Sect was the second most powerful spy agency amongst the parasites, at least regarding information gathering ability and assassination. Wang Wei was intrigued about who had the best shadow guards under their control, but that was not the main point he noticed from this briefing. After Maitreya and Supreme Unity's rise, people should refrain from using the word sun or any iconography related to the sun, just like rulers or kings cannot call themselves emperors in the lower dimension. It's the same for the 7 moons, but on a much lower level. However, Seven Cauldron not only named his faction after the sun and moon, he even named their commander the First Son. So, either I'm overthinking this small detail or there is something more behind such choices. Wang Wei did not believe he was overthinking. The higher the cultivation, the bigger a cultivator's ego usually is, making them care about such insignificant things. The only way for Seven Cauldron to make such a blunder would be if he were indeed politically illiterate, but even if that were the case, someone would have reminded him. With their high self-esteem, the other moons would have definitely confronted him because his vice commanders are classified using the moon. They might even have pressured him to change it, yet the name remains. The more I think about it, the more significant this small detail seems, Wang Wei concluded. Let's see if this information will go somewhere. He looked at Wang Qi. You did an excellent job. The information revealed was way more than Wang Wei expected. Thank you for the praise, Sect Master, but I'm just doing my job. It's good that you take your duty seriously and are good at it, but don't neglect your cultivation, Wang Wei warned. You know how vast and complex this world is. Your fate will be terrible without strength. I understand this clearly, Wang Qi replied. Good. Wang Wei dismissed him before proceeding to his next task, recruitment. He activated his soul flower ability, accessing the soul network. Oh my heavens, so many souls, Wang Wei commented. If he considered the souls he saw as a single grain of sand, there were enough to fill the entire observable universe on Earth with still a significant amount of people left. Wang Wei sighed. Moments like this showed him how small and insignificant he is. He controlled himself to focus on his ability. There were a few areas with a vague outline, signifying places with a Tier 11 formation of one of the paths. However, he did not care since even the ones with Empyrean's formation meant that he needed to take time to break into them if he wished. So he focused on the all-black areas. Tier 12 protections, Wang Wei thought briefly before frowning. He noticed countless souls with marks on them. Too many people with restrictions in their souls, he complained. Let's filter these souls out, he muttered. He first removed all the mortals with no cultivation, which eliminated 60% of the souls, a number that shocked him since mortals make up 80% of the population in the lower dimension. He eliminated the souls with restrictions he could not currently deal with, followed by the ones with deep backgrounds and abundant resources. Lastly, he eliminated anyone with a cultivation less than Tier 7. The next step is the halls and systems. Wang Wei quickly finished everything before forcefully summoning these chosen souls. Many cultivators from Tier 7 to Tier 11 and from all paths gathered in a large room with gray fog for a sky. Wang Wei sat cross-legged in the sky above him. A few Empyreans did not like someone floating above their heads and prepared to display their strength. However, the wise ones knew better since someone who could summon so many souls at once should not be trifled with. Wang Wei released a bit of his soul pressure, suppressing these bold individuals. Many of you should have heard rumors of me, for I am the destined one charged with ending this terrible era, he declared. I have chosen you because of your talent and abilities. Sadly, fate was not kind, so it did not give luck or destiny. You've come so far without any reliance and background. The people listened attentively. I come with an opportunity, Wang Wei. Source stones, formations, pills, talismans, weapons, luck, anything you want, you can get it. He smiled. Of course, you've lived long enough to understand that there is no free lunch in the cultivation world. So what do I want in return? Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. I want help to end this insufferable era. Your cultivation journey was arduous, making you value power even more. Sadly for most of you, the path ahead is blocked, and all resources are strictly controlled by either those parasites or those ancient sections. Wang Wei raised his hands to summon a few buildings created from the fog. If you choose to join my Changing Fate Hall, here is how things will operate. There is the Mission Hall. You can choose missions, and upon completion, you will receive Dao Source or Fate Points based on your choice. Fate Points come with a 5% discount for all purchases, and it's also a system to increase your rank to access some rare-level resources. He summoned another building. There is the Resource Hall, where you can exchange almost everything, including cultivation, rare chi, and even longevity resources. There is the Profession Hall. Anyone with a profession Dao can receive specific missions that involve their profession. These missions usually refine something, but there are others as well. And yes, the materials will be provided and you can keep the extras. Another building manifested from the fog. The Information Hall. You can exchange and sell news, secrets, and rumors. Lastly, there is Prime Hall. This hall is for people who truly wish to follow me instead of only using this transactional method of exchange. You can imagine the benefits and risks of this hall, so that I won't say any more. Wang Wei finished. Any question? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12-13 The Changing Fate Hall, and I added the Information Hall in the previous chapter. Empyrean White Cloud was an old man dressed in all white robes with golden cloud patterns. His long hair was white, along with his beard that reached his chest. He calmly listened to this person's words. There is no way for him to be the destined one, he thought. Many information agencies have deduced that the chosen one is from the lower dimension. However, the person in front of him was an Empyrean. No matter how talented and blessed that son of an era is, they could not have become an Empyrean in a barren place like the lower dimension or the short period after ascending. I don't care whether he's some ambitious tyrant who wants to use the chosen one's names to build power, White Cloud thought. I care about what benefit he can provide me. The Limitless Exchange Hall was forcefully scattered into smaller parts, making life for loose cultivators harder than usual. So, it might not be bad if someone else takes its place. The room was quiet and everyone left to their thoughts. Finally, after more than 2 minutes, someone asked a question. How may we address you, Your Excellency? Asked a woman in a purple dress. You can call me Empyrean Wang or Empyrean Fate, Wang Wei replied. Wang was both a common and rare name. Many people had that surname, but two families who reached the peak of this world also had that name. So, they could not tell whether he was part of those families or just someone with that name. However, using the title, Fate, implied that it was his Dao, which was significant information since it was an outlaw Dao. You said this was an invitation? Correct. Meaning we can reject this offer? She continued. Also correct. She looked at him as if discerning whether he was telling the truth. You don't need to worry about rejecting me, Wang Wei reassured. All that's going to happen is you lose your memory of today's event. The purple dress woman frowned. She and many others did not like the idea of someone messing with their memories. Why should we allow such a thing? Someone suddenly yelled. Because the alternative is death, Wang Wei replied calmly before releasing his paragon soul pressure, suppressing all the trillions of cultivators present in the room, forcing them to their knees. That's definitely a paragon soul, Empyrean White Cloud thought. This bastard is a paragon who either survived the cleaning or just broke through secretly and began building his power. He was sure of his analysis. However, he still hadn't figured out why this guy was masquerading as an Empyrean. I am an advocate for free will and choices, Wang Wei calmly stated. I believe someone who chooses to do something is better than one who is forced to do so. That's why I showed my kindness by giving you the choice. But do not ever mistake my kindness for weakness. Now make your choice. Accept my offer and take this opportunity, or continue your life of struggling and competing for the scraps of the elite. After hearing that sentence, many of these cultivators felt a fiery light flash in their eyes, as it was too close to home. They had no choice but to fight for their resources, but in this era, said resources were the things these top lineages did not want or care about. The Limitless Exchange Hall was the only faction amongst the 13 Overlord dedicated to loose cultivators. However, after its founder disappeared in the ultimate taboo, this era's rulers almost destroyed their headquarters. They forced all the branches to operate independently, thus drastically weakening them in the process. After contemplating, many people chose to leave for various reasons, mainly because they didn't want to face the 7 moons and 2 suns. Although the current situation showed things were not looking good for them, they still did not want to be the enemy of these cruel and heartless bastards. As for the so-called chosen one, well, these people did not care. Throughout history there have been countless sons/daughters of Era who died horribly before achieving their destiny or had it stolen by others. Wang Wei did not say anything more to the people who chose to leave. He waved his hand to teleport them away with their memories missing. He kept his word and did not kill them, at least not now. He knew some cultivators would check on these rejects to ensure he kept his promise. The changing Fate Hall had just been established and needed a positive brand or image. So Wang Wei plans to monitor them before slowly killing them over time. He did not want to do that, but this world is vast and full of possibilities. Although he used some power of his paragon soul to erase their memories, he could not guarantee that someone would not be able to retrieve them. Unfortunately, their death will drastically reduce that possibility. I'm glad that so many of you stayed. I promise you that the future will prove how correct your choice is, Wang Wei stated before pointing at these people, leaving a mark on their souls. No one said a word since they expected this. After all, they were joining a secret society, so secrecy and control were everything. The people who could not accept that had already left. Wang Wei left, and the recruits took a moment to review the ability of the mark and the message it left them about how things operated in this hall. After a few minutes, everybody flew to different halls. While most people headed to the mission hall, Empyrean White Cloud chose the information hall. He found himself in a booth with one person before him and a sign above with a few rules. 1. If you sell information, we have ways of determining the truth and the value of the information. 2. If you sell rumors, you will be compensated after we verify the truth. Some news might also require time for verification. 3. Luckily for him, he was one of the few people who used the information hall, meaning the reward for this rumor would go to him. He took a moment to contemplate his next move. There were 2 ways for him to amass billions of points as fast as possible. Sell Empyrean tier materials, but he was broke, and the other was to take a killing mission. As long as he killed an Empyrean from one of the Parasite's factions, the body can be exchanged for many points. No, I can't take on a killing mission. I'm relatively weak in my realm, so the best move is to gather points and slowly raise my strength. Then I can take on killing missions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12-14 Source Chi Space Navigation. Wang Wei floated alone in an isolated space, observing everything happening in the hall. I've established the foundation, but there are a few problems. The first issue he had to deal with was the lack of people. The Fate Shadow Guards were still training, and he did not have access to trusted talent to oversee the hall for him. As such, he had no choice but to use his spirit particles to create clones to control the hall. An easy solution should be creation lifeforms, Wang Wei thought. Now that I'm in the upper dimension, the tribulation should no longer be impossible. Creation lifeforms was the easiest way to deal with some of his manpower shortages. The second problem is the mission hall is not properly organized because I don't have enough information to create a variety of missions. As he gazed at the hall, he could tell most of these missions were purposefully vague. Luckily, this will change as he develops his spy network. The third problem is the lack of heaven will. Wang Wei did not worry about the training resources for immortals since the sect provided him with ample. He also recreated many training methods or dimensions from the lower dimension, like the Dream World's Battle Tower, Willpower Tempering Method, Samsara Dao Heart Refining, Spirit/Soul Training, Time Acceleration Array, Immortal Chi Gathering Array, and many more. However, he is missing one crucial thing: heaven will. Most mortals joined for a chance at receiving one. Wang Wei priced it at 800 million fate points with other requirements to buy time. I can solve this issue by raiding a few sects with reserve, he thought before focusing on his most significant problem. I have recruited 16 Empyreans, 40 Dao rulers, and more than 300 immortal sovereigns. However, none of these people could be considered my faithful subordinate. The mission hall is the only way to control them, but that's optional. I need real subordinates. People who will follow my every word. Wang Wei pondered. The best approach to this problem is to slowly cultivate people with talents. This method is slow but steady since he can guarantee his men's loyalties. This method is fine and should be on my agenda, but I also need a quick method in case something happens and I need the manpower, Wang Wei analyzed. This war would be long, but anything could happen at any time, so he needed to prepare in case an opportunity presented itself. I need to conquer a few people, but where can I find a large number of subordinates? He asked himself, and he immediately had the answer: the Lawless Zone. His eyes immediately twinkled out of greed. That place was once a place for criminals to hide from the world's powers, but after the parasites took control, many people rushed inside for refuge. It's decided. My next main goal is the Lawless Zone, he decided. However, he still had a few more things to do. He looked at the space around him. My soul network ability is the perfect way to build a transportation system. He did not expect his ability to spread to almost every corner of the eternal Ascension world, so he never considered using it as their system's foundation instead of the subspace. However, I still need to turn the Dao burial ground into a subspace, he concluded. He did not want too many people to know about his ability, thus lowering the possibility of discovering it. There is no absolute in this world, and he did not want to risk someone knowing about it and developing a way to notice it. Additionally, he still wanted to turn the Dao burial ground into a supreme chaos treasure. The subspace will be our primary method of communication and teleportation, and the soul network will be our backup plan in case something goes awry. As the saying goes, a crafty rabbit has more than one hiding spot. Wang Wei returned homeland and immediately summoned Fate Virtue and Plum Fate. Master, they knelt. Fate Virtue, you should have trained a few batches since you've arrived, correct? Yes, Master. Where are they? Most of them are operational while a few remain on standby. Summon the ones on standby. Fate Virtue whistled and countless shadows materialized behind him. Wang Wei sent information directly into their minds before teleporting them to the changing Fate Hall. His gaze then shifted to Plum Fate. I have a mission for you, Wang Wei said before pausing. His eyes turned all gray as he manipulated the fabric of fate itself. He condensed an information talisman that he handed over. This is a list of sects with secret reserves of heaven wills. Some have no affiliation with the parasites, so you only need to steal theirs. You can eliminate everyone else. It will be done. Wang Wei dismissed everybody, leaving Wang Qi alone. Why are you here? Wang Wei asked. I don't think I even called you. Sect Master, I think I may have found a way to get you the fiend god blood. Oh, I'm listening. The sect madam. Wang Wei's lips twitched. Don't you think I know many of our problems can be solved if I ask her? There is a reason I haven't asked her. Sect Master, permit me to speak candidly. I notice you lose a lot of your boldness and overthinking regarding things with the madam, Wang Qi said. Exchanging gifts is an excellent way to communicate and get to know someone. I'm sure the madam and you would not want to start the relationship by being indebted to each other. You previously sent her a gift, so it's normal for her to reciprocate. Wang Wei grunted softly, not because of anger but because this bastard was right and he did not like that. She did say she would give me a reciprocating gift. See? She understands, Wang Qi grinned. Fine. You can visit her. Use this to navigate inconspicuously. He granted Wang Qi access to the soul network for teleportation. He only needs to lock on to a soul closest to his destination and use it as an anchor for his teleportation. Wang Wei shook his head as he watched Wang Qi's disappearance. I can't believe I'm receiving dating advice from this bastard who's been single for billions of years, he thought. However, he's right. If I want a chance at wooing her, I need to stop overthinking, be bolder, and be more direct with my approach. He stood up and glanced toward the Origin Seal continent for a few minutes. Then he entered the Source Chi space again. He activated his Chi Flower ability and an invisible lotus manifested before him. Ascending treasure Chi, he thought, making the lotus tremble before flying in the distance. Wang Wei flew after it. As a precautionary measure, most cultivators will not easily teleport in the Source Chi space for various reasons, but mainly because it can easily lead to chain reactions that result in immense Chi exploding and injuring them in the process. As Wang Wei flew to his destination, everything was all blue, including the ground, the grass, the mountains, the forests, the clouds, and the sky. This was the case for most of his journey, but at some point he reached an area that appeared to be an endless white lake. Swish! A giant white hand flew from the lake, trying to catch him. The hand contained a power directly affecting the soul, rendering it dull and unresponsive. If it were any ordinary cultivators, they might have fallen into the lake even if they evaded the hand. However, Wang Wei did not do anything. As the hand touched his body, a powerful force rebounded it, and a minor scream sounded from the lake. Countless more hands tried to drag Wang Wei, but he ignored them all, except for the last. As he was about to leave this lake area, he felt a slight dread, so he skipped a few seconds into the future to arrive at his destination and evade that attack. After the empty lake, Wang Wei found himself in a green area. He could see a towering palace radiating with the luster of gold, jewels, and precious ores from a distance. He immediately knew this was his destination and rushed over. He entered the first layer of this palace and saw a group of humanoid creatures with white bodies, claws, hideous faces, and weapons protruding from their backs. Source beasts? No, those are just Chi creatures. He waved his hand to eradicate them. Although there were 100,000 of them, and their cultivation was on par with immortal sovereigns, they were light work for him. He headed to the second layer and found no creatures, just traps involving weapons. The subsequent layers were the same, involving being attacked by weapons of various strengths. By the time he reached the final layer, Wang Wei had to fight a spear with its own ego and the strength of Empyrean with 80% Grandao Source. Once he dealt with it, he took the ascending treasure Chi in the next layer, which resulted in this castle collapsing. To the next one, he muttered. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:15 Source Beast Wang Wei found 4 more Chis, which he believed should be enough for the Dao burial ground. As he was satisfied and about to return home, the green sky above his head turned dark, and his complexion became severe. A Source Beast? And a 3rd rank at that? His first instinct was to run away. After all, this beast was on par with a paragon. However, he stopped himself and analyzed the situation. He checked the beast's strength and was relieved when he realized he was probably on par with a newborn paragon. This is a good way to test my strength, Wang Wei thought before controlling his body to release a few drops of blood into the ground. Less than 10 seconds later, a terrifying creature appeared before him. It was humanoid, 5 feet tall, with no flesh but black armor for skin, an open chest with white ribs showing, and a helmet for the head with flame in its eye sockets. First, let's check my defense, Wang Wei thought before running toward the creature, and a powerful flame chi rushed from the mouth part of the helmet, instantly incinerating Wang Wei's body and soul. He instantly regenerated from the previous drop of blood with a wry smile. I didn't even last a nanosecond before the flame burned me to ash, he thought. He was supposed to be immune to flame, but before this Paragon Tier Chi flame, his proud defense might have well been baby skin. I already knew the difference between Empyreans and Emperors, but the difference between Paragons and Empyreans is truly something else, Wang Wei analyzed. He summoned the Black Dragon armor set and turned the ball into a halberd. Let's play. He appeared before the creature again, slashing his weapon downward with enormous strength. He knew his physical strength was not on par for this battle, so he supplemented it with the armor's power. The creature calmly condensed a flame shield on the area where the halberds landed, bouncing the attack. Wang Wei absorbed the force from the rebounding for a second attack. He then used a fake cutting technique. His action was so seemingly it was as if he was using a choreography that had practiced for years instead of something he improvised during battle. A flaming aura developed around the creature, burning the power of fate from his attack. That's all it took to block my attack? Wang Wei thought as he rotated his halberd as if it was a fan. He added space Dao to the rotation, turning the weapon into a grinder capable of grinding spacetime. Such an attack was enough to turn every life, atom and energy in the lower dimension into fine sand. A laser rushed from the source beast's eyes with tremendous heat and force, stopping Wang Wei's weapon. The beast then released a fluctuation from his mind, which agitated the energy in the surroundings. Wang Wei suddenly felt a slight weight in his mind. Energy domination? Wang Wei analyzed. Immortal Sovereign can use this ability to influence lower-tier emperors, but it's useless against people of the same rank. However, insurgent Immortal Sovereigns can also use it to affect Empyreans. However, this ability does not influence an Empyrean's Dao as it does for emperors. Instead, it targets their soul, reducing control over their Dao. If I didn't have a Paragon soul, I would have been in terrible shape, Wang Wei analyzed. However, where did it get so much energy? I haven't detected an immortal mansion or chi storage organ. Wang Wei observed his surroundings and immediately found the answer. The source chi space was the beast chi storage organ. It can draw energy from the environment and has an infinite amount. Its only restriction is the amount its soul can bear. The coldness of fate. Is fate cold? Yes, and in every sense of the word. The universe is full of pain, suffering, and atrocious tragedies, and the main culprit behind these things is fate. It ruthlessly created certain lives and gave them such fates. A terrifying chill, even worse than the coldness from hell, rushed from Wang Wei's halberd. He used the creature's opposite element to attack it, which should have worked. However, the creatures manifested a cold blue flame with the same characteristic. The worst part was its flame rapidly absorbed Wang Wei's coldness. Shackles of fate. Wang Wei appeared behind the creature, releasing a gray chain composed of strings. The beast tried to burn it, but it bypassed him and entered its body. The creature's fate was rapidly changed and reduced to a pinnacle rank 2 source beast. Wang Wei took this opportunity to sever this creature's death line, and instantly killed it. Unfortunately, the bones from its back rushed out and hit him in his stomach before his attack even landed. Even my fate shackle did not last long enough to attack? His battle instinct took in, and while flying away he used a soul attack, Soul Sword. As the invisible soul sword rushed to the creature, it finally moved from its spot since the beginning of the battle. Wang Wei already rained on his body and ran toward his opponent. He focused on a double attack approach. He would distract his opponent with his physical attack while the killer moves would come from his soul. Of course, he would also mix in a few potent physical attacks. Unfortunately for him, the beast was now aware of his soul's potency and had already wrapped its soul with a soul flame protection technique. So, the two fought for a few days before the beast left after giving him one last glance. As he stood alone with his armor and weapon, Wang Wei muttered, "This was disappointing. In this battle he found so many flaws in his current strength. All my techniques have not evolved since my time as an emperor. It's no problem dealing with my peers since they were so good in the first place, but they are completely inadequate for fighting above my realm," Wang Wei thought. I have no experience soul fighting with people on the same level as me, let alone more powerful individuals. Lastly, I thought I had adapted to fighting methods rank 11 and above, but I was wrong. The Source Beast did not have a Grandmist Wheel World as part of its fighting arsenal, but if Wang Wei were fighting a genuine paragon, he would have to worry about that. He squinted. All the previous issues are primarily because I'm too young, and despite my decent cultivation realm, I haven't been an Empyrean for long. He knew he could remedy most of his flaws after a long cultivation retreat. However, I still haven't figured out how to make up for the Grand Mist Wheel. His current application and utilization of the Grand Mist Wheel might be sufficient for his realm but far from enough to fight paragons. This battle was a wake-up call, Wang Wei sighed. He realized how much he had underestimated these parasites in the Paragon realm. Although he despised these people, his feelings did not change the fact they were paragons and had access to the world's resources for countless yuan epochs. Even a pig will become genius or wise after leaving for long enough, let alone these people who were not stupid, as proven by the fact they became paragons and ruled over the world for so long. Wang Wei exhaled before returning to the eternal Ascension world. As he calmed down to drink his tea, he muttered, "I need to meet Shi Shangyin then Jin Biu before I go to the Lawless zone. Once those things are done, I should have a decent foundation. I can then stop and calm down to focus on increasing my strength." Wang Wei looked in the distance. "I wonder how Wang Qi is doing?" Origin Seal City. The Origin Seal continent existed in its own dimension. However, there was a physical location in the Eternal Ascension world for people who wished to enter. Usually he would teleport to the city and utter the Empress' name, and if she wanted to see him, she'd teleport him. However, as soon as he arrived, Wang Qi noticed a disturbance. A group of armed cultivators floated outside the city, facing this city's mayor. The Phoenix's people? Wang Qi. He noticed that most of these people were from the demon race, and their armor contained a symbol of a phoenix in 5 colors. Why are they causing trouble here? He observed around, and after seeing many people snooping, he followed suit. "Why are you being unreasonable?" asked the army leader, a woman with purple eyes but no pupil. She was also the only one without a helmet. "I'm just following the Empress rules," replied the mayor, a petite woman with pink hair and wearing a white hanfu. "Are you aware that you're committing treason?" asked the commander, but the mayor's response was a gentle smile. "What if I insist on entering? According to the Empress' words, do so at your own risk." "Are you threatening me?" "I am, so what can you do about it?" The smile did not leave her mouth. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:16 Gifts. The army leader took a deep breath to calm down, which was challenging for her since most people would bow down to her when she showed up anywhere. However, dealing with these ancient lineages was usually infuriating, and the Origin Seal continent was the worst since their leader was alive and a potent threat despite her current state. "We are only searching for a criminal. Once we find out that you're not hiding it, we will leave," she persuaded. "So, just be reasonable." "I am being reasonable," the mayor replied. "After all, I'm not stopping you from searching. I merely warned you of your fate if you do so." A ruthless light flashed in the commander's eyes. "All members of the 7 Moon Council wish to capture this criminal, yet you insist on not cooperating. Are you sure you're ready for the consequences?" "All of you can enter. I'm not stopping you," the mayor rebutted with her usual smile. "The question is how many of you will return." The commander clenched her fists so hard that sparks flew due to the friction of the metal from her armor. The council ignored the Origin Seal continent because of this fear. Even if all of them besieged her, many of them would die in the process. One of the Sun rulers also placed her on the protection list, meaning that Twin Flower would never fight against her. The Hidden Moon was too cowardly to make an enemy out of her. Lastly, the others would not want to risk their lives to eliminate her, so they just ignored her as long as she didn't go too far. Unfortunately, over the years, the Origin Seal continent has become a symbol that their power was not absolute. "You'll regret this," the commander declared with raging eyes. She ordered her man to retreat, and a formation manifested above their heads to teleport them away. The mayor sneered before returning to her mansion. "As expected of the Sect, madam," Wang Qi muttered. "I can't wait for the Sect master to have this level of power. I bet he'll be even more domineering." "Is that so?" Wang Qi was shocked, and before he could react, his surroundings had changed. When he saw the beautiful woman opposite him, he instinctively said, "Sect madam, I mean Empress." He quickly bowed to show his respect. "You can be at ease," Wu Hong stated calmly. "Why are you here?" "I came to send the Sect master's regards," Wang Qi said. He suddenly realized he was in too much of a hurry and should have asked the Sect master for a handwritten note. However, it was too late, so he decided to improvise. "He wanted you to know he was here and was doing fine." "Is that so?" Wu Hong muttered. She thought briefly, and as she was about to say something, she sensed something outside the cultivation room. She sighed mentally before opening the formation. "What do you want?" "I sense someone with the Sect's luck has arrived." "I thought the kid came to see you," Yanhai replied. Ancestor, Wang Qi said in surprise before bowing even deeper. If his worship of Wu Hong was more out of fear for her strength, this one was out of respect for his sect's founder. You can stand up, Yanhai nodded. I don't recognize you, but you have Turtle's aura. The Turtle Shell Emperor was the one who gifted my immortality. Since you're alive, I'm guessing you did not abandon your role as guardian? I would never, Wang Qi quickly said. The sect master needed some talent and he chose me. That's good, Yanhai nodded. How is that boy Wang Wei doing? Has he contacted the sect? In a manner of speaking, Wang Qi replied. The sect master doesn't want to get the sect too involved, but they've provided resources as a starting fund. Not getting the sect involved? That's something Brother Qishan would have done, Yanhai muttered. Did they treat him well? Or do I need to intervene? Yes. The sect master was very satisfied with the aid. Don't beat around the bush and speak. Yanhai had dealt with enough of these slimy advisors to know what they were thinking. Well, the sect master is looking for unique resources for his body refining. I tried to convince him to ask the sect for help or even the empress, but he was being stubborn, Wang Qi explained. Body refining? Is he looking for Dao Monarch Qianhua's inheritance? He doesn't need to hurry and should take this time to open the gate of power. He's already done that. What? Yanhai was genuinely surprised, especially since she knew the plan was for Desolate to guide him through the tribulations. Yes, and he's also an Empyrean, Wang Qi added. Seriously? Yanhai said, and even Wu Hong showed a surprised look. I knew he would have a lot of merit after creating so many memorialized Lux, but this is something else. He's probably the youngest Empyrean in history even with time formation. No, not just the youngest Empyrean but the youngest person to achieve Tier 11 in both paths. Wang Qi wanted to brag about this sect master before the sect madam but decided not to be too obvious. Anyway, the sect master's accomplishments spoke for themselves. Yanhai turned to look at Wu Hong. Why are you looking at me? He's your husband and am currently using all my Tier 11 body refining resources. He's not my husband, she corrected. Husband seed, preparatory husband to be, all the same. Wu Hong wanted to curse. She did not know how long she had wished that her rigid time nexus was not a husband but a pair of sworn brothers like this lucky woman, especially after learning about the man's identity and how complicated seniority would become. Wu Hong sighed before summoning 2 boxes with runes engraved. She opened the first one to reveal a clear drop of blood containing the cosmos. Wang Qi immediately felt a terrifying pressure weighing on him. He might have been forced to kneel without the box's suppression. Chapter 12-17 Divided Love. Why are you still here? Yanhai asked, making Wang Qi smile wryly. Ancestor, I can't leave by myself, he replied. Plus, I would like to ask the Empress. And the ancestors if you have any words you would like me to pass to the Patriarch. Just tell him to be careful. This world is way more dangerous than the lower dimension, Yanhai answered with a frown. It was like she thought of something unpleasant. Maybe I should give him some of my sword slaves for protection. No, his life can't be too comfortable. Otherwise hell turn into a waste. Yanhai made her decision so she looked at her old friend. Tell him we'll meet at Su Zhenyo's banquet, Wu Hong replied briefly. Wang Qi's body suddenly visibly paused. Is there a problem? No problem, Wang Qi swiftly said. He'll make sure he gets the news. Wu Hong scrutinized him for a few seconds but did not say anything. She waved his hand and he disappeared from the room. You were actually thinking about lending him your sword slaves? Wu Hong asked. Since when were you so soft? The sword slaves are, without a doubt, the Dao Opening Sect's greatest military power. Yanhai gathered people across the globe with swordsmanship talent and trained them herself. However, that's not why they are so influential or renowned despite the terrible name. Countless lineages will pay the Dao Opening Sect an excessive amount to allow their swordsmen to experience the sword slave training. Additionally, whenever someone challenged Yanhai for the sword Dao position, she would force that person into the sword slave if their strength did not meet her standard. The Sword Path League, one of the 13 overlords, hated and loved the sword slaves. They were supposed to be the lineage with the most potent sword cultivator or army, yet all these accolades went to Yanhai, the sword empress. The sword slaves only listened to Yanhai, and throughout the Dao Opening Sect's history, she has never used them to protect one of their talents. She rarely deployed them unless something significant occurred. It's because of something Qishan said at the end of the ultimate taboo, Yanhai explained. Oh. In some way he predicted this kid's arrival, she continued. Wu Hong squinted her eyes. What did he say? He said he reached the end of his destiny. He brought the world to the age of half-step transcendent but went about it incorrectly, thus cutting his path forward. Destiny was no longer on his side. Yen Hai sighed. He predicted someone else would come along to properly finish what he started. He even predicted that this person would appear in the eternal Ascension world and that there was a tiny chance they would appear in our clan. You think it's him? All signs showed that he's the one, Yen Hai nodded. Why does it feel like he accepted his fate too easily? Wu Hong asked after a brief pause. That's what I said to him, Yen Hai said. His response? Following the trend of the universe will make his life easier, so why not do it? A fierce light flashed in her eyes. Luckily, the person who inherited his legacy is from our clan. Otherwise we would have had a problem. Wu Hong nodded. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. How is your injury? Better now that I've returned to the Empyrean realm and my body is more powerful, Yen Hai replied. I think you'll enter a deep seclusion after the celebration. What about you? I can feel I'm very close to returning to the Paragon realm, Wu Hong explained. However, as you know, this part of the injury requires time and a lot of resources to grind it slowly. We used to have ample time, but now... Yen Hai looked in the distance. Are you really not going to do anything about those people outside? Them invading might not be bad, Wu Hong replied. She knew two things would happen if these foreigners broke through this world's defense. Firstly, Maitreya and Supreme Unity are forced to intervene and eliminate the threats. Second, they let things play out and these people start rampaging into the world. If it was the second choice, she knew their primary target would be these parasites since they possessed most of the world's resources. How sad, Yen Hai sighed. These people used to tremble at the near mention of our world. Now, even their scapegoats can put so much pressure on us. Isn't this how the world always operates? What goes up must go down. Their era was a gilded age, and now they must return to the ground and start over if they want to wish the previous height or higher. All this talk is making me depressed. They'll go train, Yen Hai said, disappearing from the room. Wu Hong shook her head. She gazed in the distance before returning to her retreat. Sect Master, I have good and bad news, Wang Qi said as soon as he returned. Oh? Tell me the bad news first. I think it would be wise for you to hear the good news first, Wang Qi stated, and before Wang Wei could answer, he continued. The good news is we received gifts. Gifts? As in plural? You'll never guess what happened. The ancestor was there, and she also sent something. Ancestor? The Sword Empress? Yes. Wang Qi handed the items while explaining what they were. Wang Wei's eyes lit up after learning about the Peach Tree of Wisdom. With the power of his Bodhi Tree, his Tao comprehension speed will drastically increase. It would even be better if he could raise the Bodhi Tree's rank. Tell me in detail what happened? No problem. Wang Qi recounted everything he experienced from the moment he landed in Origin Seal City. A ruthless light flashed in Wang Wei's eyes after hearing the Five Feather Phoenix's actions. Then, he immediately calmed down when he realized the Phoenix was the one in trouble for making an enemy out of his future wife. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. So, they began actively training these defensive capabilities, primarily by absorbing rare resources, and eventually created techniques to accelerate the process. Sadly, Heaven and Earth restricted this path as a way to divide people into a strict hierarchy based on their foundation and achievements. For example, body refiners are limited by the number of tribulations they survive. The minimum requirement to open the gate was 1267, meaning such a body refiner can only increase the immunity to these 1267 Daos, and not anymore. People who survived the 3,800 Dao tribulations have a second chance at achieving true, limit indestructibility, but most failed the second attempt and can only condense a pseudo one. The third cultivation aspect of indestructible Empyreans is the most important, the will-body fusion. As the name implies, body refiners must increase their willpower before fusing it with their bodies. Once that process is completed, they'll meet the requirements to open the gate of flesh and acquire the ability that granted inextinguishable paragons their titles, will immortality. As long as an inextinguishable paragon's willpower remains solid and unbroken, they could not be killed. In other words, once Wang Wei enters the Elder Fiend God realm, to kill him, someone must capture him and find a way to break his spirit and willpower so that he gives up on life, and that's the only way to prevent him from reviving. Wang Wei closed his eyes to access his bloodline seed. After analyzing the bloodline, he figured out a few things. Firstly, adult fiend god's primary attribute is not whatever Tao their primordial law is, but primordial chaos. All body refiners, no matter what technique or cultivation systems they used, will experience one event in their life before entering the first realm of the true power Tao realm, sanctification of the flesh. They must choose a concept or characteristic that will fuse with their blood, allowing them to revive from a drop of blood. Wang Wei became enlightened in the power of nothingness, but fiend gods chose primordial chaos, which granted them countless benefits that made any body refiners envious. Due to their deep affinity and love for primordial chaos, they can temper their willpower by exposing their minds to the vastness of primordial chaos. At an even higher level, they can even confront the will of primordial chaos to temper themselves, and the will not lash out and eliminate them. On the contrary, it will help and guide them. Fiend gods can passively absorb the power of primordial chaos to increase their strength. That's why they only need to grow, and their strength will naturally increase. The only thing they have to work for is fusing their willpower with their bodies. But even then, the will of primordial chaos will provide them some assistance if needed. Wang Wei started to change his bloodline to imitate the essence of fiend gods. These lucky bastards have primordial chaos, but he has the concept of nothingness. In the process, his spirit found himself in a space he could not describe, as it embodied the idea of nothing. He felt himself being slowly assimilated into this space in a process called returning to nothingness. Wang Wei resisted, and as expected, this effort proved to be an excellent way to temper his willpower. After all, nothingness was a taboo Tao for a reason. If I can use this place as a willpower training method, it should affect my current self. Wang Wei's willpower was beyond his realm, but that did not stop him from exercising it. The tribulations in the true power Tao realm are based on a person's willpower, allowing him to make drastic improvements over the years. However, Wang Wei had now reached the point where he needed a way to actively temper his willpower, as this would save him a lot of time and effort after opening the gate of flesh. Wang Wei took out his ancestor's scripture and started to learn from his method of using a physical manifestation of heaven and earth to temper the body and willpower. Now he only needed to change heaven and earth to the concept of nothingness. Once he created the prototype of this technique, he fused it with his bloodline source. 3 birds with 1 stone. Wang Wei smiled. The physical manifestation of nothingness granted him another ability of fiend god, absorbing its power to increase his strength. More importantly, this technique was excellent for his path of using nothingness to achieve taboo realm. Wang Wei's next step was to siphon a significant amount of nothingness energy from his bloodline and condensing another wheel in his sea of consciousness. The process did not take long, and this nothingness wheel was as small as a chicken egg, but Wang Wei smiled brightly. The nothingness wheel will be the key to his achievement of the taboo realm. The idea is his body may have a limit to the amount of power it can contain before it is assimilated, but the wheel, a foreign object linked to his soul, does not. Once the wheel reaches a certain level, Wang Wei can use it to break the limits on him. Now is not the time, Wang Wei commented as he saw the small wheel. He prepared for an extended retreat that may last Yuan epochs sometime after Su Junyo celebration. During that time he can try his plan to accelerate the growth of the nothingness wheel. He shifted his focus to his bloodline. Not everyone from the clan will be able to face nothingness, so their bloodline must contain the ability to manifest whatever characteristics they've chosen. Wang Wei frowned. He hadn't developed this ability to modify and make it so universal. Then, there is their advantage of the primordial chaos will. Do I need to recreate that? I could leave my willpower in the bloodline to serve the same purpose, but I don't want these guys to rely too much on their bloodline. Yes, it's better if they don't have to rely on any help. These people's bloodline was already potent enough. They did not need any more advantage. The human race became one of the most powerful races in the chaos universe because of their spirit of hard work. They were born weak, so they work 100 times harder to reach the top. Meanwhile, top innate races like fiend gods require heaven's help to balance races like humans to prevent them from outshining them. Wang Wei moved on after making a decision. Lastly, I need my bloodline ability to become passive. Once that happens, he must survive an immemorial tribulation, and his bloodline will complete the last step to achieve the 11th revolution. Wang Wei exhaled, stood up, and left the cultivation room. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12-19 New Leader, 30,000 years past? Wang Wei muttered. I wonder how much time has passed in the lower dimension? His theory was correct. The time difference between the upper and lower dimensions drastically changed as soon as he ascended. As such, he would not be surprised if less than a week had passed in the lower dimension. Wang Wei did not focus too much on this and closed his eyes to access the changing Fate Hall. He first checked the mission hall records and nodded in satisfaction after seeing the number of missions completed in this short period. It seems these mortals were motivated. Wang Wei nodded. Many people have exchanged a heaven will, meaning his guards did not disappoint him a second time. The casualty is a little high, Wang Wei noticed next. Many people died during missions, including from being captured and the restrictions he placed on their souls activating. It won't be long before I need a second round of recruitment, he summarized before checking on the news gathered. With so many people selling information and the newly trained Fate Shadow Guard, he now had a decent spy network. It was far from good or even at the level of unparalleled in the lower dimension, but it was decent, especially considering how long they started. There were many pieces of news or information that Wang Wei found vital, so he reviewed all of them. Firstly, the guards did an excellent job of slowly killing the people who rejected his offer. They made most of them look like accidents or the result of disputes with other loose cultivators. More importantly, no one has suspected anything so far, including the people who checked on these individuals to see if Wang Wei was telling the truth. Wang Wei nodded in praise at the result before continuing to sift through all this data. Is that where Jinbiyu is? Wang Wei held a piece of paper with a pondering look. He put it aside before continuing his work. His eyes finally focused on a piece of news from the Lawless Zone. This place was usually a place for people to hide from the world, but one of the members accidentally discovered a merchant running away from the Lawless Zone. Out of curiosity, they saved him and brought the merchant to this place, and the Fate Shadow Guard protected them because the information was valuable. Why is there no detailed information about the Lawless Zone? His men should have interrogated the merchant and learned more about that place. Wang Wei searched for the answer and soon found it. The merchant was an unlucky individual. He went to the Lawless Zone to work at the Azure Sky Pavilion, and he wasn't there for a week when he accidentally learned something he should not have and had to run away while being hunted. It's unfortunate, but I guess I can get detailed information once I'm there, Wang Wei thought before finishing his duty. He opened his eyes in his room and summoned two people, with Wang Qi being the first. As he waited, he checked the status of the Dao burial ground after absorbing more than 4 ascending treasure qi. It won't be long before it reaches a peak supreme innate treasure, Wang Wei thought. After knowing this, he hoped his meeting with Shi Shangyan would be productive. Wang Wei focused in the distance as he noticed a few familiar faces. Sect Master. Anything significant happened during my absence? His gaze shifted. Nothing extraordinary except the fact that the world has become quiet because of how much these people are searching for you, Wang Qi replied. Even the rebellion had reduced their activities due to the high security in all these parasites' territory. Wang Wei nodded. It was indeed wise not to antagonize these people in the current state. One of the reasons Wang Wei chose to hide himself is because he feared his presence might force one of them to return from the front line. One more thing, Wang Qi added. You must prepare a gift for Su Junyo's celebration and fight for an attending spot. I understand the gift, but what's with the attending spot? From what I gathered, everyone is welcome to this celebration, but if you want to be in the room present with her, you must have a VIP card, and there are 3 ways to get one. Personal invitation, a battle ring to display your strength, and lastly, spend lavishly to receive one. I see, Wang Wei nodded. However, there is no need to fight for one. They'll contact Xiao Tiandi, he should provide one. Given your history, will he? I can be very persuasive, Wang Wei replied, making Wang Qi secretly pray for Xiao Tiandi. All right. You can leave. However, Wang Qi did not leave. Is there something else? There is, but I don't know if I'm being too cautious or if there is something wrong, Wang Qi said. Tell me and I'll decide. It's like this. I contacted the ascending emperors and immortals without connection or association with a powerful lineage to see if they would work for us, and many accepted the offer. However, I haven't found the demon-suppressing emperor, Wang Qi revealed. During the process, I learned that many of these people were captured to get information from you, and I fear the same might have happened to her. Of course, there is also a chance she found an excellent hiding place. Wang Wei's eyes turned all gray as he checked on her. He soon frowned before summoning his Bashin turtle shell. No, something did happen to her. Her fate is odd, it's a perfect balance. What does that mean? It means things could go exceptionally well for her or extremely bad, there is no in-between. Can you tell where she is? Unfortunately no. Only Paragon and above power can block your divination. Does that mean she's really captured by these people? Wang Qi asked. It looks like this. Luckily, it seems she has a hope of turning things around, Wang Wei commented. Forget her for now. If we have the chance, well, free her. Honghua is a human and heavenly emperor, meaning she has a lot of potential, and Wang Wei does not want to give up such a talent. Come in, Wang Wei said out loud, and a shadow appeared before him, kneeling on one leg. Red Mask, fate at your disposal, master. So you're the new head of my guard, Wang Wei commented. As expected, the former elder of the Mask clan proved her talent and was now in charge of the Fate Shadow Guards. Thank you, master, for this opportunity, she replied. No need to thank him. The Shadow Guard's ranking system is a meritocracy, and you have your positions because you're capable, Wang Wei answered. However, you should have heard of your predecessors and how capable she was. Do you think you can fill in her shoes? I do. I like your confidence. I don't have time now, but I'll use the Lord Shadow technique on you once I settle everything. Red Mask Fate was surprised. She had heard of this technique but did not think she had a chance since her predecessors and the person who inherited the position had already used it. Of course, she did not know that Wang Wei received the upgraded version of that technique from the sect. The Shadow Ruler Emperor's new scripture allowed for 4 shadows in the Emperor realm, 2 in the Empyrean realm, and 1 in the Paragon realm. Although Wang Wei only had access to the Empyrean part, he was more than satisfied since he could create 2 individuals that could borrow all his strength. The sect even gave him the rare resources to create these unique shadows. Report the situation to me, Wang Wei ordered. Although he had deduced most of it from the changing Fate Hall situation, he still needed to hear the nitty-gritty from Red Mask Fate. And that's precisely what she did, and Wang Wei listened attentively. You did an excellent job, Wang Wei praised. I hope you keep up the good work. He ordered a few things before dismissing her. She's a talent, Wang Qi said. True, but how much of a talent is yet to be seen. Wang Wei could tell Red Mask Fate was talented, but her current success was primarily the result of the fact she's from the upper dimension and did not have to experience the adaptation period. This fact makes her the best candidate he has for this leadership role of his guard, but hell no if she's genuinely talented once they face obstacles and she has to improvise. Only then will her position truly be secure. Wang Wei summoned a talisman with stars engraved on them from his unique space. He activated it to contact Shi Shangyan, and less than 5 minutes later she replied with a coordinate for a meeting. Wang Wei squinted his eyes because the meeting place was somewhere in the source chi space. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:20 Betrayal, and Myriad Sect Alliance is changed to Grand Sect Alliance to differentiate with the Myriad Clan Union. Wang Wei made some preparations before entering the source chi space. The talisman became a guide similar to his ability, leading him to the meeting's destination. He found himself facing a vast ocean that was the purest of blue. Immortal chi? This place is so valuable. The energy in this ocean was enough to cultivate more than 150 immortal venerables or more than 5 immortal sovereigns. What a meeting place, he commented with squinting eyes. He glanced in the distance. There was a small pavilion at the center of the ocean with 2 people waiting with already brewed tea that he could smell from such a distance. Wang Wei flew over and slowly landed. He first glanced at Shi Shangyan, and his first thought was how beautiful she was. She had on a blue hanfu with star symbols that illuminated her presence when looked at the right angle. She stopped reducing her aura and beauty, Wang Wei commented. Shi Shangyan's beauty was on par with Su Shi, if not better. However, her reputation in the lower dimension paled compared to Su Shi because she actively lowered her aura and beauty. Wang Wei glanced at the second person. It was a middle-aged man. He looked ordinary compared to Shi Shangyan, but in the depth of his eyes, there was a light more brilliant than any star. This is our celestial clan patriarch, the Cosmic Earth Empyrean, Shi Shangyan introduced. You can call me Shi Xing, the Celestial Patriarch introduced himself by cupping his hands. Wang Wei returned the salute. This man is the first everlasting Empyrean I've met, Wang Wei thought. He should not be a simple character. It was terrible to be an everlasting in this era. Being an Empyrean, especially the one closest to the Paragon realm, would get someone on a watch list. However, everlastings is on another level. They must survive countless plots and assassinations, and sometimes the parasites will use any excuse to eliminate them directly. The fact that the Celestial Patriarch survived for so long proved his ability. After an introduction, the three sat together and the Patriarch served tea. I heard about all your exploits from Yenner, but seeing in person is something else. The Celestial Patriarch's cultivation was 85% Grand Dao Source, and with his boosts he had no problem fighting peak Empyreans. However, as soon as he laid eyes on Wang Wei, he felt a warning from his intuition. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Very young, Wang Wei replied, making Xixing sighed. The saying is right, true genius only appears in times of chaos. He could barely accept an Ascension to be an Empyrean already, but for the latter to have such strength. I guess he's the chosen one for a reason. Patriarch, Xishangyan stated while motioning her head. Oh, where is my head? Xixing said. This ocean is a meeting gift. How generous, Wang Wei praised before sipping his tea. He felt a hot feeling rushing through his body and slowly nourishing it. Good tea, he commented. This tea would have benefited him immensely if he were in the 0 or 1st heaven. However, the effect was still applicable to him on a smaller scale. Maybe a little too generous. We wanted to start this meeting on a good note, Xixing replied. That's good to hear. Yenner told me you like to do things directly, so let's do that, Xixing stated. Have you come to garner our support? That's correct. We intended to support you from the beginning, hence this gift and why we sent one of our most talented members to make contact, Xixing continued. However, we also want to benefit from this ordeal. So, to be straightforward, what can we get from you? Wang Wei put his teacup on the table. Before I answer, let me ask, who decided to serve the Five-Feather Phoenix? Was it your clan's personal decision or one from the Myriad Clan Union? Why does that matter? It seems it was your decision, Wang Wei deduced. Your intention was probably to turn on her and become one of the parasites and rise to a level on par with the Union by using the world's resources. Unfortunately, your view of the situation was wrong. The Suns only needed watchdogs, meaning there was no room for you to have a successful rebellion. No room to climb the ladder. Now your only choice is to take down the parasites and convince the Union that you did not betray them. Your plan from the start was to take down the enemy from the inside. Tell me if I'm missing something? Xixing was silent, so he sipped his tea. I was warned of your wisdom. He smiled wryly while shaking his head. Let's say you're right. This does not change anything. We can fight these parasites by ourselves. We don't have to rely on you just because you have destiny on your side. Wang Wei agreed. Working with him will only legitimize the celestial race's plan to take down the parasites from within, thus increasing their chances of convincing the Union. You must work with me because I can guarantee the Union will not treat you as traitors. Even better, I guarantee they will praise and reward you for your actions. Those are bold words, Xixing said with squinted eyes. But how exactly will you do that? Don't you remember who one of the 3 primal paragons of the Union is? The heaven-opening paragon, Wang Gua. Yes, one of my ancestors. Wasn't the Wang clan divided? I don't see how you can influence him. Our relationship is closer than you think, Wang Wei said. However, we know the backlash that would occur if the world knew how close or united we were. Indeed, no one wants a truly united Wang clan, Xixing commented. He had to admit this proposition was alluring. As long as one of the primal paragons spoke, the others would have no choice but to give him face, and that would solve all of the celestial race's problems. Are you sure your words are so valuable? Xixing asked. What do you think is my most valuable aspect? Wang Wei asked instead of answering. Do you think it's my destiny? No, that's worthless in the eyes of many people. My greatest asset is my talent and the fact that I can be considered a primal paragon seed. Can you imagine how much the Dao opening sect and my ancestors value me? As long as I say something, they will listen and value my opinion. Indeed, Xixing thought. He focused so much on this man's destiny that he overlooked his greatest value, his talent. Very few people can receive the title or position of a primal paragon seed, and are all supremely talented individuals. Xing had to admit that Wang Wei's talent trumped all the seeds he's read about in records. I have to say, I'm convinced, Xing stated. The celestial race will be more than happy to ally with you. However, are you interested in establishing deeper bonds through marriage? He motioned to Shishangyan. Yen'er is our clan's most beautiful woman, and she has unparalleled talent. Usually, such a woman would be the core of our clan, but for you we're willing to make an exception. Wang Wei looked at the calm Shishangyan. By her demeanor, it appeared she knew of this before and was prepared. As appealing as your offer is, I have to decline. My heart belongs to one woman. Xing gritted his teeth. We don't mind if she's not the main wife as long as you promise to treat her fairly. The answer is still the same. Su Xing looked at his clear eyes and knew this man would not budge. It's a shame, he sighed. Let's discuss the terms of the alliance. They spent the next few hours discussing the nitty-gritty before coming to an agreement, which primarily involved resources and manpower. The celestial race will send powerhouses for certain battles or missions once Wang Wei requests them. Secondly, they will provide him with unique cheese to help him build his power, but there is a limit. However, Wang Wei will have priority in buying them. Wang Wei convinced them to donate the treasure King Qi, which can evolve a supreme innate treasure into a supreme chaos treasure. However, he needed to negotiate and buy rank 12 Qi since the clan had a small quantity and wanted to rebuild their powers. After signing the agreement, Wang Wei took this ocean of immortal Qi away, leaving the two alone. Once again I apologize, Xing stated. I know someone of your talent should have the power to choose your Dao companion, but we had to risk it for such a talent. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Isn't this the normal attitude of a descendant facing their ancestors? Wang Wei replied, greatly puzzled. His tone hinted that it was the greatest travesty for his ancestors to have such a terrible opinion of him. The last time we met you were polite, but that was only on the surface. You were on guard against and even had a hidden disdain, Wang Wei stated. These old monsters are really keen, Wang Wei complained to himself. You can't blame me, ancestor. I had a lot of misinformation about you. After our discussions, I researched your life more closely and learned how our family's recorded history wronged you. Wang Guo looked him in the eyes. This brat wants something or is planning something, maybe both. He smiled internally. He is like Qiyuan, especially with his weird destiny. Maybe it's not such a bad idea to have a relationship with him. Brat, I've lived too long, and one of the side effects is that I've grown to despise people who spoke like politicians with flower tongues, speaking in a roundabout way and never getting to the point. So, state your intention directly. Wang Wei sighed internally. I guess being direct is another trait of the Wang clan. Fine, but I'd like to point out that I wasn't lying about researching your life and getting a new perspective, Wang Wei stated before explaining the entire situation with the celestial race. So, ancestor, are you going to give this descendant a little bit of face? No problem. Really? So simple? Even if you didn't say anything, we wouldn't annihilate them or something for their betrayal, Wang Guo explained. Why? The celestial race is the primary reason our union has the largest number of Tier 10 and 11 cultivators among all the overlords and the highest number of insurgents. They are more valuable than they realize. Indeed. Their ability to safely navigate the source chi space makes them crucial to building middle-level officers. Although paragons and above are usually the determining factors in battles between lineages, when their strength is relative, the deciding factors are the number of emperors, empyreans, insurgents, and immortals from the other paths. Are you sure the other two families won't give you much trouble? Wang Wei asked. Even if they would not eliminate the celestial race, this was a perfect opportunity to weaken and ultimately control them using their treason as an excuse. Your interference will prevent that. You don't have to worry about that, Wang Guo replied. He knew how to get them to agree. The Yi clan is the only non-human amongst the three, which makes them wary of the Wang and Xiao clan. As long as Wang Guo approaches them, they will accept his offer, as they'll see this as an opportunity to weaken the bond between the Wang and Xiao clan. Of course, Wang Guo will only see them if the Xiao clan does not want to give him face. Okay, now is my time to be direct, Wang Wei stated. Your unilateral cooperation is suspicious. Then without hesitation he absorbed the necklace's crystal into his bloodline source. sharing this protection with all members of the Wang, Yan, and Li clan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. They asked me why I didn't return to the sect, and I told them I had personal matters to attend to. They wanted me to return immediately, and one of them was even rude about it. Luckily I had prepared for this. I told the rebellion of my background and they suggested I become a double spy, so they gave me something called a false mind pill, which would allow me to hide my thoughts and lie to an Empyrean. They even helped me clean up my aura. Wang Wei nodded as he understood what she meant. Zhen Biu proved the Tao in the upper dimension, and with the proper method or person, it's possible to determine this fact from her aura. I told them about you, Zhen Biu continued. I didn't tell him any important information, but enough for them to have some understanding of your personality and capability. It was the only way to get their trust. Don't worry. I understand, Wang Wei reassured. Zhen Biu sighed in relief. He'll hand over Emperor Five Hearts artifact to you. No need. This thing has no destiny with me, so you can keep it. You can repay your debt later on with something else? Are you sure? I've come to learn that this thing is valuable. Oh, how valuable? It's a supreme chaos treasure embryo, Zhen Biu explained. Although its power is only on par with a chaos treasure now, as long as you provide it with enough resources, it can grow to such heights. Moreover, you don't have to feed it unique resources, just a certain quantity, and it will condense into shape. That's indeed valuable. So, have you changed your mind? Not at all, Wang Wei replied calmly. Your personality is indeed odd. What makes you say so? You're obviously greedy, but you can also give up on such a rare item without hesitation. What can I say? I'm an enigma, Wang Wei shrugged. This artifact had a similar effect as the Dao burial ground, so there was no point in having it now. Additionally, his intuition told him the best use of it was with her. Tell me about your sect's situation or Taoism in general. Heavily divided, Zhen Biu answered. A small and new faction supported by the Supreme Ruler and Seven Cauldron ruled the sect, while the majority faction, which originated from ancient times, is very dissatisfied with the current situation. I haven't figured out exactly why the old faction is unhappy, but my deduction is something to do with the restrictions that there can be no paragons born in the world. And from what I gathered, most other Taoist lineages are similar to ours. Wang Wei pondered. He could deduce the source of these people's dissatisfaction. Supreme Unity and Betrayal killed all their previous paragons and prevented them from reviving or creating more. Additionally, the resources they used to control were not drastically reduced and were in the hands of Seven Cauldron. It would be weird if these factions were not dissatisfied. Why are you in this place? Wang Wei asked. It was a big deal after you ascended, so I approached the sect and said I owe you karma, and there is a chance you may contact me. They agreed to this ambush operation, but I just wanted an opportunity to contact the outside world. You have something you want me to pass to the rebellion? Yes, I've gathered valuable information and unfortunately, I still have a debt to pay them for the heaven will, Zhen Biu explained. You can read it before passing it on. Her soul condensed a talisman and Wang Wei took it. You don't have to worry about them. I'll pay your contract, so from now on, you report directly to me, Wang Wei said. That's fine. Zhen Biu would rather deal with Wang Wei than the rebellion because he knew what kind of person the latter was. However, the rebellion was an assembly of all types of individuals, many with different ideals and goals from their primary cause. If you want to contact me, leave the sect to an area not covered by a paragon formation, and I can reach you anytime and anywhere, Wang Wei added. I understand. They'll give you a parting gift. Wang Wei condensed his soul network ability into a seed that manifested as a lotus flower on his palm. He accessed his paragon soul temporarily to bless the lotus and did the same with the sect's void-rushing talisman. Finally, he fused the lotus with Zhen Biu's soul. If your identity is detected, activate this ability, which should take your soul away even from a paragon formation. However, you must be quick and decisive. This thing might work on a formation in passive mode, but once someone takes control of it, you're screwed. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Zhen Biu was confident she would not be caught. The false mind pill mutated after she used it due to her two personalities or souls, granting her a new ability to hide her thoughts and memories in an undetectable layer in her sea of consciousness. She was even confident about lying to Seven Cauldrons' face. "It's good to be confident, but don't be cocky," Wang Wei warned. "I know." Her personality was usually calm and patient, so she would not do anything unnecessary or stupid despite her confidence. Wang Wei waved his hand to teleport a small pile of second-rank Dao sources. "This should be enough to turn your artifact into a peak supreme innate treasure, but be careful that your sect doesn't force you to hand it over." "I won't let them," Zhenbiu nodded with determination. She was more confident with her mission as a double spy with the artifact once this thing evolved to the next level. And if she could somehow get the resources for a second evolution, that would be ideal. "That's good to hear. However, I'm now more indebted to you. I'm sure one day I'll need you to return the favor," Wang Wei stated. "Now let's put on a little show to increase these people's trust in you. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." "Previously, I had to rely on someone else's name to deal with you, but now the situation will be reversed," Wang Wei sneered. He focused on his surroundings and immediately picked on clashing sounds more than 300 light-years away. His divine sense scanned the area and noticed two people fighting. A black mantis over 5 meters tall was slashing a woman with long dark hair more than 2 meters long. She tried to resist, but it was futile as the opponent's slashes were too fast. "That's what you get, you lowly missed life. You should have died with your creator," the mantis yelled before leaving a severe wound on the woman. Then a ruthless light flashed in her eyes. "The Grand Mist Gang will not perish," she roared. Her hair turned into snakes that bound the mantis before exploding herself, taking him out with her. Wang Wei calmly watched everything before shifting his gaze to a dozen more battles in his vicinity. A chaotic place indeed, Wang Wei thought. He changed his appearance, reducing his aura, making his face more fierce with a scar on his left eye, and transforming his clothes to appear more ordinary. He raised his hand to summon an ox demon that had just won a victory against another creation life form from the Grand Mist Gang. Wang Wei searched his soul and learned two important pieces of news. He was from the Bloodline Gang and was in the midst of a war with the Grand Mist Gang. Secondly, if he wanted to get detailed news of the Lawless Zone, buying it from the Dark Cloud Pavilion was best. Where to go next? Wang Wei calmly eradicated the ox demon, who was only on par with a saint, before teleporting away to an enormous city floating in the void. He frowned as he pondered whether to enter through the regular entrance or secretly break through the formation covering the city. After hesitating for a few seconds, he decided to stay low-key. He rushed to the entrance and waited in the short line. Less than 10 minutes later, it was his turn. Two Dao rulers stood guard at the gate, and one had heterochromia. He glanced at Wang Wei and frowned. After a few seconds he motioned to his partner, who asked for the lowest fee. Wang Wei paid the Dao source before entering. The first thing that popped into his mind was a city of sin. 90% of mortal cultivators he saw were full of karmic sins, and the only reason it was not the same for the others was because they were immortals and had higher immunity to karmic sins. Even then, some had a red cloud hanging above their heads. Wang Wei headed directly to the city's center. Flying and teleportation were prohibited, so he had to pay for more than 5 teleportation arrays to reach his destination. He cursed these black-hearted criminals who designed things purposely to make more money. His destination was a towering building that surpassed the artificial clouds. For a place that mainly sells information, it sure is eye-catching, Wang Wei thought. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1224 The Lawless Zone's Political Landscape. Wang Wei entered the dark cloud and met with a beautiful female receptionist. After glancing at him, she checked something and a slight surprise flashed in her eyes. "A noble guest," she said with a bright smile. Their pavilion treated all Empyreans with the utmost respect. "Are you by any chance a VIP?" she asked. "No." The receptionist jolted something down on a piece of paper. "Do you have a membership card? If not, do you want to apply for one? The price is only a small fee paid every 10,000 years, and you get a discount on all our services." "No thank you," Wang Wei refused. She nodded and kept her gentle smile. "Are you a buyer or applicant?" "Buyer." "What are you here for? Assassination, mission, or information?" "Information," Wang Wei replied. The receptionist finished writing before handing him a talisman. "Someone on the 11th floor will be waiting for you." Wang Wei activated the talisman, and he disappeared from the first floor. The smile on the receptionist's face disappeared. Is that a new Empyrean? If that person was not hiding their appearance, it meant a new powerhouse had entered the lawless zone. Based on what he does, the current situation might be shaken. She immediately reported this news to her superior before attending to the next person in line. Wang Wei found himself in a well-decorated room with beautiful vases and paintings. A middle-aged man dressed in flowing green and an infectious smile awaited him. "The name's Tang Yi and it's my pleasure to serve your excellency." "Empyrean Restless," Wang Wei replied succinctly. An odd title which can mean many things, Tang Yi thought. "Please sit in. I've served tea." Wang Wei immediately noticed this room did not have cushions and a small table, but 2 comfortable chairs and a medium-sized table. It felt like he was at a restaurant instead of a personal meeting, but there was still a sense of intimacy to the decor. "It'll be straightforward," Wang Wei said after sitting, not touching the tea or snacks. "I just arrived here and need to know who not to offend." "You've come to the right place," Tang Yi replied. "The most powerful forces are the 1 hidden master, 2nd kings, 3 pavilions, 4 gangs and 5 demons. These forces have the highest combat powers and the highest number of powerhouses, and they control most of the resources. You can join them but must avoid them if you want to remain independent." Tang Yi closely observed all of Wang Wei's reactions. Interesting name, but it would have been better if they went to 9. There used to be 6 halls, but not long ago, it was revealed that one person secretly controlled all of them, and he died, so the other forces divided his assets. "Oh? Who is so capable?" Wang Wei asked. "A man named Gu Xian. The one who cultivated deception Dao? You know him?" Tang Yi asked. "He has some fame on the outside." "I see." Wang Wei was not surprised that Gu Xian had its own power in this place. As a Dao monarch, he was on the list of people to be hunted down. This place was the only way to hide. He even knew that Gu Xian had left his treasure for recultivation in this place. However, he did not know the exact details of Gu Xian's power since Wang Wei only had his partial memories. "How much do I need to pay for detailed news on information about these factions? How detailed are we talking about?" "Thing. The highest level your pavilion is allowed to sell." "That will be costly," Tang Yi replied, rubbing his hands. "I'm good for the money." Tang Yi pondered briefly before mentioning an absurdly high price. Wang Wei did not hesitate to pay, no bargaining whatsoever. This sucker must be a nouveau rich, spending money like it means nothing, Tang Yi thought. Little did he know that Wang Wei did not care about the money because it would return to him 100-fold after conquering this place. "Excuse me," Tang Yi went to a back room and returned with a talisman half a minute later. Wang Wei used his divine sense to receive the information it contained. His first major observation was how little information about the Dark Cloud Pavilion this thing contained, which made sense they would not sell themselves out. His second observation was about the hidden master. "Why is there so little known about this hidden master?" Wang Wei asked. There were no pictures, information about his realm or even his Dao. The only information was that whenever the Time Eater came to this place to clean it up, the hidden master would appear and band everybody together to deal with him. Afterward, he would disappear and never show his face to the world. "I'm sorry, but this is the only information that our pavilion is willing to sell about the hidden master," Tang Yi swiftly replied, his face showing genuine regret. Their pavilion did not even have much information about this person, so there wasn't much to sell in the first place. Wang Wei nodded. "What about independent powerhouses? Is there anyone I should be wary of?" "There are a few. Although they don't have a large force behind them, their fighting prowess is top-notch," said Tang Yi. "Do you want news about them?" "Yes." "A moment." Wang Wei then paid an exorbitant price before receiving the talisman. He stood up. "Well, thank you for your service." "Wait," Tang Yi said before handing him a purple card. "This is our VIP card. Next time you arrive, someone from the 12th floor will serve you. Additionally, the card comes with a free mansion." Wang Wei took the card and received the information it contained before calmly putting it away and leaving. His new house was in a prime area near the pavilion, meaning he did not have to travel too far. The card served as the control center of the mansion's formations, so Wang Wei took control of them. They should have done a better job monitoring this place, he thought. He removed all the flaws in the mansion's formations and the ones on the VIP card. Wang Wei found a room he liked and settled down. Let's get some more information. He used his Bashin turtle shell to divine more information on these factions and their leaders, especially for the Dark Cloud Pavilion. The effect of my divination has dramatically decreased in this place, Wang Wei complained. But even so, it's odd that I found nothing about this hidden master. He was not satisfied with the result of the divination, but it still provided him with crucial details/information. The best place to start is with either the Second Kings or the Five Demons, Wang Wei thought, and after analyzing everything he chose his first target, the Barbarian King. The man is simple and lives his life by the creed that strength is above everything. So, as long as I can defeat him, he will willingly become my follower, Wang Wei concluded. Now that he had a plan, it was time to execute. However, he did not immediately leave this city. Instead, he spent the next few days traveling around this city, observing and leaving the seeds for when he conquered the Dark Cloud Pavilion. Once that was done, he headed for the battle Colosseum ruled by the Barbarian King. After flying quite a distance from the city, Wang Wei stopped and turned around. His gaze focused in one specific direction, and a group of people appeared after a minute. "So, you found us?" said a petite woman, accompanied by a thin man beside her and a dozen more individuals behind them. "It seems we underestimate your capabilities." Wang Wei looked at this group composed of 2 Empyreans and a few more great emperors. He did not care for them since the highest cultivation was the woman with a 73% Grand Dao Source comprehension. However, he detected a strange aura from them. The petite woman frowned, displeased at his lack of response. However, she controlled herself for the sake of the mission. "Our pavilion master would like a meeting." Wang Wei did not answer, focusing on these people's strange aura. His intuition told him it was valuable information once he figured it out. "Are you not going to give our pavilion master face?" the woman asked in a grave tone while releasing an intense killing intent. "How annoying," Wang Wei uttered before his soul released a fluctuation that knocked out all these people. He immediately searched their souls and as expected they had restrictions. However, by all standards, these restrictions were subpar in quality despite containing the power of a peak Empyrean. Wang Wei pondered briefly before placing a deceiving heaven array in these people's sea of consciousness to deceive their master from knowing when he breaks and replaces the restriction in their souls. Once that was done, it was easy for him to search their memories before enslaving all of them. "Master," said the petite woman while kneeling in the void. The other people followed him. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." As soon as he uttered these words, the surroundings changed. A force suddenly appeared and teleported them to a desolate world with a red sun and no life in sight. The middle-aged man rushed toward Wang Wei immediately after the teleportation process ended, using his knowledge and experience in this place to his advantage. Boom! Wang Wei slapped him, and a loud cracking sound echoed in the sky, followed by a large explosion as the middle-aged man crashed on the ground. Wang Wei appeared next to him, looking at him with cold and indifferent eyes. Sigh. "No problem, but you must be my follower from now on," Wang Wei bargained. "Oh, okay." Wang Wei pointed at his forehead before releasing a blue light. However, he soon frowned. "A restriction? Moreover, it's odd. Although its power is only at the Empyrean level, its essence is much higher. What's more, this one contains a slight innate aura. Is the restriction from a heaven premarch or maybe a supreme chaos treasure?" Wang Wei analyzed the situation swiftly. He looked at the middle-aged man. "Why did you surrender when you already belonged to someone else?" "I do." "You didn't know?" The middle-aged man shook his head. It seems the Barbarian King was not some brute that only cared about fighting. He must have been secretly building his power to ensure his position in this place. "Please don't kill me. Don't you have any pride?" Wang Wei suddenly asked. "What is pride worth? There is hope for me as long as I'm alive." "I forgot these cultivators in the upper dimension don't have as much pride as the lower dimension because of how accessible the Emperor Path is," Wang Wei commented. "Alright, I'll spare you. Now, hand over the key to your house and access to all your resources." "Thank you." The middle-aged man handed him a space ring, and after checking it, Wang Wei nodded. His surroundings changed again and they returned to the Colosseum. His victory increased by 1 and Wang Wei flew away. He fought 4 more people to check their souls and 2 had secret restrictions. He headed to the center of this continent, where the pagoda was located. The middle-aged man was less than 2,000 victories away from meeting the requirement to enter the pagoda. Additionally, he was strong enough to buy housing close to the tower. Although it was not as good as those people with 4,000 or 5,000 victories who could live directly next to the pagoda, it was decent. After entering the house, he found more than a dozen women waiting for them. They were slightly surprised by his presence, but that was the extent of their reaction. "Master," they bowed to him, speaking fluently without hesitation. One of them stepped forward. "What is it you desire today?" Wang Wei observed her, and he could immediately detect a strong emotion, worry. She must have been the favorite, and now she's worried whether she will lose her position. He took a moment to think about what to do with these women. She's not an immortal, and her lifespan is limited, so this should have happened recently, probably between 1,000,000 to a few billion years. Wang Wei leaned on the ladder because the main events that occurred in the past few million years mainly involved the lower dimension. If anything had happened before, his guard should have records of it. "What happened to you afterward?" "Many of the master's apprentices died or scattered during the confrontation," Qinjilan explained. "I was one of the lucky ones who escaped." She wiped out her tears. "Life was hard after that, but with my cooking I could live a decent life even in hiding. Unfortunately, I was caught by slave traders and brought to this place and—" "I understand," Wang Wei nodded. "Well, you don't have to worry anymore. I'll even help you find your master." "Thank you for the offer, but I doubt he's still alive." "She's not that bright, is she?" Wang Wei thought. "Maybe just ignorant." "You said your master was an everlasting Empyrean, correct?" "That's right. In that case he's definitely alive. After all, you remembered him, didn't you?" Wang Wei explained. Qinjilan looked at him with shock. "That's right. How can I forget about that?" Then she started to sob again as she sat on the floor. "What is it?" Wang Wei asked while helping her up. "I spent so many years mourning him," she replied with tears and snot on her face. "I even built him an ancestral shrine. Do you think he's going to be mad at me?" "I'm sure he'll understand," Wang Wei reassured. Poor girl, all that trauma must have severely affected her spirit. His mind released a unique fluctuation, making Qinjilan pass out as her body and mind completely relaxed. Then her body flew to her room. "What a strange girl," Wang Wei shook his head as he walked to his room. However, he suddenly stopped. "I did something on a whim but found a pair of talented master disciples with a rare food Dao? Is my luck this good?" His essence flower ability required him to consume delicious food, which was a welcome surprise. However, Wang Wei felt something suspicious. His luck was excellent, but many good things happened recently, meaning it was time for him to calm down. Could it be that fate realized it might be a while before I can taste the future wife's food and sent me a temporary replacement? Wang Wei thought but soon shook his head. It loved me but not to this extent. He looked at Qinjilan peacefully sleeping and his eyes changed. "She's related to Su Junyao?" Wang Wei's lips twitched as he put the pieces together. He had a fated love connection with Su Junyao, meaning they must experience many events to build an emotional bond naturally. Qinjilan and her master are part of those events. Wang Wei exhaled deeply. It's horrifying if you think about it logically. For this event regarding his love life, fate involved 3 Empyreans and a Paragon, Blood Dragon, as the primary participants. An administrator from the pagoda came to lead him to a private room. "Join my Discord to have many discussions about the story and so on. Here is the link, Novel Cole Discord. GG/BenSaysDipY Lazy Sage DAO. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." It's been a while since someone had reached the 10th floor, meaning the Barbarian King hadn't displayed his might in a while. So, this battle suddenly became grandiose. Everyone in the pagoda and outside gathered to experience this major event. People bet on who was going to win, and of course the majority favored the Barbarian King. The official gambling hall of the pagoda focused on specific bets, for example, how long will Wang Wei last? Or whether Hell be able to injure the Barbarian King in the slightest. Wang Wei floated in the air with his arms crossed, ignoring all the whispers outside. He was interested in an opponent like the Barbarian King, and luckily he did not have to wait long. A space crack appeared in front of him to spew a towering, muscular man. The Barbarian King was 3.5 meters, making him a small giant compared to Wang Wei's 1.95 meters. His braided hair made his face fierce but with a hint of suaveness. The Barbarian King wore a simple black robe but did not put on the top, leaving his upper torso bare, showing his intimidating physique. His muscles were so defined that it could be said his muscles had muscles. Above him, a win-lose ratio of 2,349 to 0 manifested. This ratio might appear small, but considering the high requirements for the 9th floor, it was actually impressive that so many people finally received the opportunity to face him. A barbarian with a giant race bloodline? Wang Wei commented. What a strange combination. This battle might be interesting. As soon as he laid eyes on this person, he knew he was a worthy adversary. The Barbarian King was a peak indestructible Empyrean that achieved limit indestructibility. His body will fusion is already in the advanced stage, one step from perfection, Wang Wei thought, and his eyes immediately shone. This man is an unparalleled genius. Interesting indeed, the Barbarian King spoke, his voice deep but also reassuring. I thought this would just be a match to display my power after so long. But you might be a truly worthy opponent. I'm honored, Wang Wei said without any signs of respect whatsoever. He released his aura, and the Barbarian King grinned, showing his rows of white teeth before also doing the same. Their aura clash twisted the void and the crowd watching went wild. The battle countdown ended and Wang Wei rushed forward. Boom. His body flew backward, crashing through a few mountains. He had to use his superb control of force to reduce the attack's effect and stop himself from continuing. He looked at the right side of his body and it was gone. It calmly regenerated as he sighed. As expected, he sighed. The Barbarian King had reached the peak of 10 heavens while he was still in the 3rd. Additionally, this monster had the bloodline of the giant race while being a barbarian, meaning strength was his strong suit. The Barbarian King laughed as he appeared before Wang Wei. You have it. However, the more impressive aspect of this technique was not its strength but the fact that the Barbarian King's true will was also rotating at an alarming rate. If Wang Wei was not careful, his true will would be dispersed and he would be injured for real. Unfortunately for the Barbarian King, he met an expert. Wang Wei's true will seemingly assimilated with his opponent before reverting the rotating force, turning it into a backlash. The Barbarian King's huge body moved with terrifying speed a few kilometers away, and he glanced at a tiny red part of his palm. He was injured. I haven't bled since I fought that old man, he commented, his voice trying to contain his excitement. Then he grinned, it seems I still underestimate you. What a quick reaction, Wang Wei thought. That attack should have pulverized the Barbarian King's entire arm, just like what had happened to him. More importantly, his body is unnatural. After these short clashes, Wang Wei realized the Barbarian King's body was not due to a special physique or bloodline but more so the result of a body refining technique. Unfortunately, the opponent's information was protected by this pagoda, so Wang Wei needed more time to gather and analyze more data. You should take this seriously, Wang Wei replied. Otherwise you'll suffer and I won't accept any excuses for your defeat. I would never do such a sacrilegious thing and tarnish the sacred art of combat, the Barbarian King responded seriously. Sacred? I never thought I would meet someone more battle-hungry than me, Li Jun or the monkey, Wang Wei thought. Maybe my ancestor was like this. After all, he chose the battle maniac name. The Barbarian King's body suddenly lit up as if it were a shining diamond. He slashed his hand downward, managing to generate a sword slash more than 10 meters long, heading toward his opponent with unparalleled speed. Wang Wei waved his hand to the side to break the attack, and his eyes squinted. That bastard learned my technique, he thought. The Barbarian King learned his true will application of melding his power into his opponent to disarm it. Wang Wei was sure he did not know it beforehand, given how he reacted after coming into contact for the first time. The Barbarian King did not give him time to respond, so he continued. He jumped higher into the sky. As he reached a few kilometers above Wang Wei's head, he landed and the space underneath his feet caved in. The Barbarian King expertly controlled his strength to bend space-time under his feet. He then used it like a slingshot to shoot himself with immeasurable speed toward Wang Wei. Wang Wei would have praised such a brilliant body-refining movement technique, but the opponent's speed had reached the same level as him, maybe even slightly higher, so all his focus was on how to react. He did not evade and clashed head-on with a fist of his own. To the normal viewers, this clash was a confrontation of power or attack potency. However, only a few people and the two involved knew this was a confrontation of their true wills. This is the deciding factor in a battle with strength that is so close together. The Barbarian King used a different true will technique. This time around he condensed his true will to increase its potency before exploding. The explosion should have eliminated the opponent's true will while also doing great damage to the body. Unfortunately for him, Wang Wei retaliated with the same condensing approach but executed more brilliantly. The clash of true will is invisible, undetectable, and indescribable to normal individuals. However, if it were to be expressed in a way for mortals to understand, then it could be summarized as such. The Barbarian King's condensation was as if he took the tallest mountain possible and condensed it into a ball the size of an egg before removing the pressure and allowing it to explode. However, Wang Wei's was as if he took the largest star possible and condensed it into a tiny dot. The result was the Barbarian King's right arm exploding in a pool of blood. However, this injury was nothing. On top of his cultivation talent, the man also had a terrifyingly high battle IQ. He accepted his loss in the confrontation, and before his arm was entirely blown up, he removed a significant part of the right side of his body to prevent Wang Wei's true will from remaining inside his body. The Barbarian King also realized that for an opponent of this caliber, the less than a nanosecond his body needs to regenerate is plenty of time. So, the moment his arm was blowing up and he was protecting himself, he was also making a third move, growing 3 more limbs from his back. So, when Wang Wei was about to follow up with a second attack, the Barbarian King's 4 arms slapped each other, releasing a potent force that pushed the space between him and his opponent, thus separating them by a few hundred light years. The Barbarian King expected the opponent to be more aggressive and come after him, but Wang Wei stopped and waited for him. The king frowned. What is this? Pity? Mockery? His voice did not hide his annoyance. Not at all, Wang Wei replied. I just know this is still not your true pinnacle state, and I want to see and fight you at your best. I understand, the king replied, his voice containing a deeper respect for his opponent. I prepared this technique for the old man, but I guess you'll be the first one to see it. This was not the first time the Barbarian King faced an opponent that was exponentially better than him at utilizing their true will. After that defeat, he trained his true will non-stop but felt it was not enough. So, he developed a method that was unique to him to give him an advantage. Muscle will, an unknown will awaken from the Barbarian King's body to fuse with his true will. The answer to his problem was that he would win with numbers and raw power since he could not fight with skill against these experts. What's going on? Wang Wei asked himself, extremely baffled. The body could not have another will, especially after starting the body will fusion. Any will awakening from the body would just be part of someone's will manifestation. Unless he has 2 souls, which could make it possible, but it doesn't seem to be the case, Wang Wei thought as he observed every detail of this technique, trying to figure out its in and out. His gray eyes lit up and he saw something. This bastard. No wonder his body is so abnormal. Who knew he could think of such a thing? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.